Yo, 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 yo. What's up? Oh, they were just lit by the Christmas tree and my light right here. I drink a ton of tea. Hot tea. I love hot tea. A little bit of sugar, a little bit of cream. Now I don't actually put sugar in my coffee, but I put sugar, tiny bit of sugar in my hot tea, depending on what kind of tea it is. Not all teas are the same. All right. So I put out 2 videos today. Welcome, by the way, to Nigel, HJG, P Money, the usual suspects. Don't forget to like and share. They say you have to remind people of these things, even though I pretty much, if it's a video that I like, somebody that I like, I hit that like button no matter what, pretty much. But sometimes if it's something I want to watch a few of those videos, but I don't anticipate subscribing to them, I won't like it. But if I'm subbed to them, I usually like it regardless, just to help them out. Yeah, I mean, I know how to say your name, Hervoyer. I've heard people say it, but I like HJG better, unless it offends you. How am I? I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm just chilling. You might have noticed some of my latest videos. I got this arm. My brother gave it to me. He wasn't using it, and so he gave it to me. So that's been fun. All right, Nighthawk. Have fun. What's the J stand for? It's at the end of your name. Of Hervoje. Hervoyer, sorry. Sorry. Would you rather me say H-Yay-G? Yeah, just the arm. Say Mike, I just put it on this arm. Oh, I hate when I say Okay. Yes, we did 2 videos today. Crazy. Impressive, P Money says. I don't know about that. They weren't exactly hard videos to make. Tenaple is killing it with the short videos. Yeah, he needs to just pump it. That's what I've been telling these guys when I'm able to, or when I have someone's ear, or when I'm on somebody else's channel. I say, hey, make shorter videos that can get shared. Welcome, Lady Vixen. If you do, there's a chance those will get shared. You'll get new people in. Otherwise, you're just recycling the same people over and over again, which is fine, I guess. But let's be real. If you're relying on the audience that you've already built and you're not trying to bring in new people and doing what it takes to bring in new people, you're ultimately going to not be successful. That's the reality of the situation. Let's see how that lighting looks. Terrible. Why didn't somebody tell me? That needs to be turned up a little bit. There we go. Yeah. So we've got to find a way, because I actually just set my phone camera on top of the light stand. That's how I film with my camera, with the second camera. So I may not be able to do that, which is fine, I guess. But we'll figure it out. I think that's a season, P Money. I understand you're not as interested in American politics probably as Americans might be, but Yeah, I'm tired of them too. It's just time to do something else for me. I mean, not that I comment on politics here, just because I don't really care to. By the way, everything is political. One of the myths that I think we've bought into as conservatives, or at least non-SJWs, is that somehow, let's use Tiny Fiskars today. Let me see. We'll probably just have to do this. Not the best, but it'll have to do. All right, man. Hervoyer. Thanks for stopping in, and check out these links, guys. If you're interested in Douglas Ernst Black Tide Rising, that's definitely an awesome one. Badger novel, Offworlder, has that ever gotten funded? Lots of things is the gist of it. There's definitely a bunch of links there from our good friend Hervoyer. I'm not sure how this one's supposed to be built, what the purpose of it is, but we'll figure it out. I think I did get it. I figured it out. So to finish my statement, I will read P Money's comment after I make my statement. Is this myth that things were neutral? There was no neutrality. There is no neutrality. The issue is whether or not the politics contained within the entertainment are at the expense of good storytelling. Because there's certainly things that I have seen which I would disagree fundamentally with the political or ethical implications of what they've put into the story that told a good story and thus were compelling. P Money says, yeah, but there's a difference between something is political and then there's something making sure we know it's political. Right. And what I'm not for is at the expense of, so in the picture on the box, it's just sitting on it like that. But it's basically, you've got an axe and you're chopping wood on a stump. That's the idea of that one. So we'll set that aside there. You know, I probably should bring up the actual, let me see. You're going to zoom in? Doesn't really. You see it. All right, there it is. It's done. So we've got a bunch of days to make up for. Here. That was day 5. Here's day 6. What I think, this is why some people have twisted this to be, oh, no politics whatsoever in art or in comics. What they're talking, it's a mistake, first of all, to separate politics from ethics and where you derive your ethics from. Right? This is the myth of secularism, thinking that they can say, oh, you can't bring your religion into this discussion because I don't share your religion. Well, I don't share your ethical basis either. That doesn't inherently make your position flawed. Just because I don't share the ethical basis for it. But at the same time, when we talk about ethics of being what it means to be a man, or heroes, or in this case, superheroes, right? If we try to separate those ethics from the political implications of them, the societal implications of them, we try to have all these different spheres, right? well, over here is the political sphere, and this one's the ethical sphere, and well, over here this is the moral sphere, and over here this is the religious sphere, and we can't mix these. I think you're making a mistake. Ultimately, your worldview defines all of these things, unless you're just wildly inconsistent. Well, in my private morality, I believe, A, B, or C, but I think a law should be made about this that's the opposite of what I believe in my private life. That, I think, is... Oops. I think is silly. All right, so we've gotten some extra pieces here. We talked on one of these times I made some Lego pieces and put them together. That's a little Christmas tree with a, looks like a sigh or a spearhead on top. A little trident action. We got an extra one of those. That'll be fun to use as a weapon. Man, I'm just yawning all over the place. Nothing like chlorine in the eyes to make you sleepy. Would know nothing about that. Never been swimming in my life. I'm lying. I've been swimming. Here is day 7. We're going all the way up to 11 today. On this Lego Advent calendar, if you're not aware of what we're doing. This is just a little guy. He's got one of those propeller hats. You don't see those very often. I did go over to someone's house when I was a kid, and they had a little hat with a propeller on it. And I was like, this is rad. This is cool. And then I shortly thereafter realized it wasn't that cool. And he's got 2 little cookies, looks like. So we'll just put those on top of his hands. And yeah, he's got 2 cookies. All right. So when we make a story, it flows out of the same place that our politics does. It doesn't have to be a story about... with an agenda to push something, right? We can tell a compelling narrative about some sort of dramatic situation without it pushing some agenda, but it doesn't mean it's inherently wrong to do it. And that's the issue. That's the problem that I see is people say, to take all politics out. So, whoa, I think you're not understanding what politics are. And on that basis, when the SJW says everything is politics, they're not wrong. All right, I don't know what this one is supposed to be at all. Okay, I figured it out. These are little gifts. Gifts. So, P-Money's daughter is really getting into Gary's art. She's poring over Titan, commenting on every page. That's fantastic, man. That's fantastic. I like to hear that. If there's somebody in this world that's art deserves to be studied, so we'll put these by the tree, these little presents, and to be analyzed, it's Gary Shipman. So we've got extra little dealies there. Put those with the extras. And when I'm on stream with Gary, she's chatting to Fangirl saying, please say hi to Gary. Oh, she's starting to Fangirl. Sorry. She's starting. Where's that chatting? She's starting to Fangirl saying, please say hi to Gary for me. That's cool. That is neat. Or this is a snowman, if you didn't realize that already. Which I think we made a snowman last year. Oh, that's a cool little top hat piece. I might have to take that off the snowman and give it to another character. Oh, and we got an extra bandana. 8.5. Fantastic. Is that like Fellini's movie, 8.5? Well, you said I'm going to take this snowman's bandana. It's such a cool hat. I just want somebody else to wear it. But we've got an extra little arm stick there for this fella. Over here. Or that was number 9. Now we're on to 10. He just wants to be real, and you got to go and steal his hat from him. Yeah, I'm the magician from Frosty the Snowman. Man, what the heck? There we go. I probably should have done that in the first place. Sorry. This is better. This is way better lighting. I don't know why I was doing it in the dark. It's lame. It's a lame snowman. It doesn't even melt inside. That's true. It's true. It's not even as good as Frosty. At least Frosty melted. What in... I think my light bulb is going out, folks. Which kind of sucks because it's like a round light bulb. Like a circle. I don't know where to get one of those. I'm sure you go to the light bulb store and say, hey, I need this specialty light bulb. Where do I get one? I say, oh, I gotta order it. This appears to be just some sort of lame cameraman with a scarf on. I suppose I have worn scarves and I have scarves, but I suppose they're of more use in a colder climate. Oh, this is a woman. Yeah, it's a woman. Or it's a dude with makeup on his face, but we're saying it's a woman. All right, there we go. She's got her camera, and we've got an extra scarf. We can put it on this little boy. Is there a nativity Lego scene? I don't know. I don't know. That'd be a little strange, I think. I wouldn't be surprised if there was, and I also wouldn't be surprised if there were not. I'm sure someone has made one. Maybe not an officially licensed one or something, but I'm sure someone has made one. All right, and this is the last one for today. For today is the 11th. I know that there's like the Playmobiles. Oh, hey, some big jerk. The Playmobil deal bobs. They have a nativity scene. They also have a Martin Luther one. The Great Reformer. Now we have to sort of figure out what this is. All right, I'm not going to tell you this one. I know what these are, but I'm not going to tell you. You have to figure it out on your own. Some big jerk says, I think there was a Bible and Lego series online somewhere. There was. I remember that now that you say that. Yeah, the Lego Bible or something. I remember that. Haven't thought of that in a long time. Now, would it be bad to have a Lego crucifix? Ooh. Well, I mean, and just a person crucified? Or some sort of image of Christ. Are we saying it's a Lego Jesus? I don't know. Sounds problematic to me. All right, what are these things, folks? Have you figured what these are? Out what these are? I think there was also, I think I've seen a Lego Bible at Barnes & Noble too, where someone took Bible stories and used the Legos from curling. Good job, P-Money. I like the Winter Olympics. I like watching the winter sports, including curling. It's kind of fun. You know, they've got brooms and they're shuffling them along. Boom. There we go. There's me. Tip that up just a bit. All right. I'm back in the shot with plenty of... When I actually do the lighting, it didn't look so bad. Well, we're not done. We did all this Christmas fun of putting together these, but I thought we'd have some more Christmas fun by just talking and having fun around Christmas time. Some Big Jerk says, of course they focused on all the violent and inappropriate parts of the Bible. Really, I don't remember that one. I think the one I saw was more innocent. P-Money says, I like Winter Olympics more than summer, mostly because Canadians have a much greater shot at gold medals. That's true. Of course, the Americans usually still are up near the top of the heap. Like the Summer Olympics, they're almost always the winningest country. Occasionally, someone will have more gold medals, but usually not total medal count. The United States usually competing. I guess that's one of the advantages of having a multicultural country such as this, with people from all over the world that come here to live, and having 300 million people, being one of the most populous countries in the world, having climates that can sustain winter sports and having enough people to participate in them, right? Like Jamaica, the Jamaican bobsled team, you know, Jamaica, we have a bobsled team. They are at a slight disadvantage because they can't even train in their own country. Whereas I believe could be the headquarters for the entire Olympics, but at least for the American Olympics is in Colorado, up in the mountains, where there is snow. TheBrickBible.com. There you go. P-Money says, yeah, and Americans give more money to their athletes than Canadians, too. Yeah, because there's more money to give. There's bigger audience of people watching. They're making more money. This is what I was talking about in one of my videos earlier today, which is the WNBA. I have a lot to say about this, and I've been ranting about it all day. It was so engaging to me, this argument that I had not experienced yet, that somehow the WNBA players are not making enough money, not being paid enough. Now, there's a misconception about what they're exactly asking for. This has been going on for years. I just happened to see videos recently, and it's still going on as of just a few months ago, where they're saying, oh, we don't get paid enough. We don't get paid enough. Which is quite humorous when you look at the facts. But let's be honest about everything. I want to be accurate in what I'm saying, at least as much as I can be. They're not asking for the same amount of money that NBA players make. I've seen a few videos where people say that that's the case. It's not the case. What they're asking for is a comparable percentage of money generated, or the total amount of money that the league possesses, right? Or that's coming to the league. I should say that. Now, the issue with this is there's a myriad amount. There's so many issues with this. But the biggest one is that the WNBA loses money. And if certain indicators are to be believed, each of their individual franchises, whether they're owned by the WNBA league or private individuals, loses money every year. And the league as a whole loses approximately $10 million every year. And the company has never turned a profit in its 20 plus year existence. And it has had a sharp decline in the amount of people, not sharp, but a gradual would be a more apt description, a gradual decline in the popularity. When the WNBA first debuted in the 1990s, it was more popular than it is today. There were over 10,000 people going to the WNBA games, which that's pretty impressive. And now that's somewhere around 6,000 as the average, which is quite a big drop off. And it's continued to get worse. Every year it's pretty much been a drop in the amount of people watching the games at the games. They give away free tickets, by the way. Cross Comics says, I heard the WNBA players have a higher percentage than the NBA. That is actually true. The WNBA does make a higher percentage of certain, and it's from a certain perspective. Am I like jitter? Why is it dropping so many frames? Oh, well, hopefully it gets fixed here. Looks like I'm buffering all around and stuff. A lot of things were more popular in the 90s than today. Exactly. The WNBA has at times had more money spent on promotion than the NBA. Now, obviously, that is for a number of reasons. The NBA doesn't really need as much promotion because they're already established. The WNBA was a new thing, so at times more money was spent on it to try to establish it. But this is a 20-year experiment where they've lost money every year. So if the company was not supported by the NBA, if the NBA was not willing to lose money on the deal every year, subsidize it with the profit that is made from the NBA, because the NBA turns a profit, and of all of the NBA teams, only I think one of them posted a loss last year, and all the other ones made a profit. There was somebody that was trying to defend the WNBA in a video. They made some point about, 6 teams posted a loss, but that's not every team losing money. The league as a whole losing money every single year for 20 years. It's a false equivalence. Another argument put forth to defend the WNBA was that in the first 20 years of the NBA, there were losing teams and declining ratings and all this. You can't compare a league starting in a time period where people still didn't have televisions. They didn't have cable. The vast majority of people before the late 80s really did not have cable. Cable didn't even exist in the format that it would in the 90s until the late 80s. And cable was not what it was. ESPN did not have any bearing on the world or any influence. Hardly at all until the 90s. If a basketball game was shown on television, it was on a broadcast channel. Therefore, it had to bring in ratings. It had to make money. And the WNBA benefits from all of the effort that everybody put in from the NBA from when it started in the 20th century until the late 20th century when the WNBA was started. So the idea that somehow comparing the first 20 years of the NBA to the WNBA is laughable. The WNBA has benefited, or hypothetically would have benefited, from the internet, from cable television, from more access to more people, better sports science, better sports medicine. Hypothetically, they would have benefited greatly from the time period in which they started. So here we arrive at a point where they are bringing in $52 million. That's the league as a whole, brings in $52 million. The problem is their expenditures exceed $52 million. So if the company as a whole is losing money, on what basis does an employee then say, hey, I know that you're already losing money, but we deserve more money? What the WNBA Players Association, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but what they are essentially, what they're hoping to benefit from is the relationship between the WNBA and the NBA. Now, I don't want to say they knowingly are doing this, but it's the only possible explanation, is that they realize the NBA is supporting the WNBA. They're subsidizing it. They're saying, yes, we know you do not bring in a profit. You do not actually turn a profit. We're losing money on this. We realize that so this is players, we realize that we know you're not making any money, but we're going to shame you into paying us more. And it's not like these people are making nothing. Okay, when it first started out, they weren't making all that much compared to today. But I don't know the exact figure, but from what I saw, the highest paid players in the WNBA are making about $250,000 a year to play in 30 some games. And then if they make the postseason to play in those games, which are the first two rounds, I think the first two rounds are single elimination. And then the rounds after that, which I think are the semifinals and the finals, could be wrong about that. Could be quarterfinals, semifinals, finals. They're games of 5, potentially, 5-game series. Obviously, they have to win 3 out of 5. And they're wanting to make more money. The NBA, in comparison, they play 80 games, I think, a 80-game regular season, 82-game regular season. Then they play playoff series of 7 games. There's no single elimination rounds. And they make a profit. There is no comparison. If, let's say that the same company owned Denny's and a high-end steakhouse, or a gourmet restaurant, does the line cook at Denny's, which I don't, let's say IHOP. I'll say IHOP instead because I go to IHOP more regularly, and I can more honestly say I like IHOP. I go to it occasionally. It's not a dig at people that work at IHOP to compare them to the WNBA. I know it seems like it. But if the cook at IHOP says, hey, look, company, you also own a high-end restaurant where the head chef makes $100,000 a year, and I'm making $40,000. Would we think that is smart? Would we think that's right? Or is that head chef bringing in more revenue? Possibly not, actually. But they're not the same thing, right? We recognize that there's a difference between the two. And in this case, IHOP actually makes money, whereas the WNBA loses money. So, absolutely ridiculous and stupid. P Money says, do people really want to get rid of men and women's sports? I keep hearing stuff about that, but let's face it, if they actually did that, it would be a disaster. They must be smart enough to see that. Well, P Money, I think you would know that it is not really about intelligence. Their reasoning is inherently flawed because of their sin nature, I would say. And so they don't actually value rationality and logic. So are they thinking about getting rid of men and women's sports? It depends on who you're talking about. From what perspective are we saying that there are men and women's sports, and in what way are we making these distinctions? What people are saying is that there are biological women and that there are transgender women, and that transgender women ought to be allowed to play in women's sports. Therefore, making it so that there is no distinction like there originally was meant to be. Why was there a distinction between men and women's sports? Because men have a physical advantage over women. So if they do change this and more people enter into women's sports who are biologically male, they will have a distinct advantage over the biological women who play in those sports leagues. So it destroys the women's sports. Now, one thing that I find interesting is the NBA is not called the Men's National Basketball Association, right? That's not what the NBA doesn't stand for NIN's basketball, right? It's an N, it's not an M. If a woman was good enough at basketball that she could compete with NBA players, she would make an NBA roster, right? But we recognize that is very, very unlikely to happen. It would be interesting to see one of the quote-unquote worst players in the NBA, someone who didn't get a ton of playing time, who wasn't a big name, but consistently made NBA rosters, to play against a team made up of those men versus the best WNBA team. We would see the disparity between them very clearly. Someone like a Brian Scalabrine, who is one of the best basketball players in the world, right? This is a man who played in the NBA for years and was on rosters, championship-winning teams. But he's considered to be one of the worst players. And if you go back and look at a video game, he's got like the worst rating of any player that's actually on a team, right? Not considered to be a great NBA player, but he's an elite talent when it comes to actual basketball talent. If he was to play against the women's team, he would dominate. He's a very large man. I think he's like 6'9", something like that, well over 200 pounds. And he can shoot. He can back them down into the post and score on them at will. But if a man wanted to play in the WNBA, that would not be allowed, right? So the only thing that is restrictive is the actual women's league. There is no restriction on the men's league. So I don't know. P-Money, what I don't understand. Viewers are down in sports and award shows, yet they seem to be more concerned with offending than being financially successful. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to see. I think right now they sort of have thought themselves untouchable because they do make so much money and they're essentially protected from laws from antitrust laws here in the United States. Baseball in particular has an exemption when it comes to antitrust laws. They are monopolies. There is no competition. Every year or every few years at least, a new football league someone tries to start one and it always fails because it's so hard. It takes so much money to run a sports league. And this is what is, if these WNBA players really valued what they're doing and inspiring girls, and you often hear this, we're inspiring young women to live out their dreams and stuff. They wouldn't be asking for more money because the more money that the NBA loses, the further you get into the idea of just doing away with the WNBA entirely, or having only teams that are owned by the league itself. if I was someone who owned a WNBA team and it was consistently losing money, if I'm a millionaire, I wouldn't hold on to that very long. I would just get rid of it. I'd ditch it. It's losing me money. That's not how people become millionaires, by engaging in losing companies. So right now, I think, what in the world? I skipped or something. I don't know. It appears that I'm back. If I was not gone and it didn't buffer at all, why did it say so on my screen? All right, here's the point I was getting to. Is right now, I think that the sports leagues think themselves untouchable. They think we're going to make money regardless of what we do. They're not generally concerned with declining ratings because they're still selling tons of tchotchkes with logos on them. People are still buying shirts and hats and jerseys, and they're still selling advertising. Maybe not as much, but they're still making money. If they were to start losing money, you might see a difference. You might see a change. But they're not concerned about them because they're still making tons of money. ABC is not concerned with whether or not if the Oscars are on ABC. I don't know. Is it the Emmys on ABC? Whatever award show is on ABC. Disney is not concerned with losing money for a few hours of television because they're not able to sell as many advertisements during Oscars as if they were to put on a different show. It probably doesn't cost as much money to do the Oscars, although live television can be expensive, I guess. More expensive than usually less expensive than a dramatic show. But in general, reality television and live award shows and things are usually less money. They're not as concerned with losing money on those endeavors because they're still making huge movies that make billions of dollars. So they're not as concerned with that, I would say. P Money says, I noticed trans only goes one way. Trans making it into women's sports, but no trans going into men's sports. I mean, yeah, because the reality is that biological females are at a disadvantage. So if Ellen Page decides, oh, did I dead name someone? Oh, my mistake. If Ellen Page, let's just call her Juno. If Juno decides that she wants to play in the NBA, she's not going to make it. If one of these really tall WNBA players decides she's going to go try out, first of all, they're not making a distinction. The NBA would allow them to try out, I guarantee it, if they thought that they would make money from it. Which, this also brings me to another video I did recently, but I didn't actually put out because it got screwed up in the recording. But it was about a similar topic, which was a Vanderbilt women's soccer player, kicked a kickoff in one of their games. And it was the first time a woman had played in the SEC conference, which, if you don't know, it's a pretty big conference. A lot of teams that usually win the championship, the national championship for what used to be called Division I football. Now it's called Division I football bowl subdivision. It's stupid. Division I is what I'll call it from now on. One of the major conferences. It was the first time in a major conference that a female had played, had suited up for a game, gone on the field, and engaged in the sport. She kicked a what people called a squib kick. I have been convinced by rewatching the video and somebody else's commentary on it that she was trying to do a normal kickoff and screwed it up and only kicked it about 30 yards. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the woman was there. She was asked to join the team because their other two kickers were injured. However, the punter was not. I would be willing to bet the punter would have been a better option at kicking that kickoff. And did I mention the team lost something like 40-something to 0? She only did one kick because they didn't score any points. She didn't punt because they had a punter who did really well, by the way. I looked at the averages for him, and he had a great game. I mean, I feel bad. The guy kicked something like 6 or 7 punts. That is insane. Just really, really sad day for him. Seemed to be a pretty good punter. He would have been a better option to go with for kicker, in my opinion, but it didn't really matter because they were lost 40-something to nothing. It was a huge to-do with this. It's all over the sports channels, and everyone was talking about it. It's a big story. The first woman to play in one of these power conferences. The thing that they're overlooking is that women have played in NCAA football games prior to this. In fact, a woman has scored points by kicking field goals prior to this, successfully in bowl games, which is, if you guys aren't familiar with college football here in the United States, the highest level of college football doesn't actually have a very good playoff system because there's so many college football teams that would be eligible or would have a good case to be in the race for that a playoff system really couldn't work as well, is the argument I think I've seen. So they play bowl games, which is two teams getting together to play each other after the season. And only recently they developed a small playoff that I think includes about 8 teams. Might be 6. No, it won't be 6. That makes sense. It's either 8 or 4. I don't know. Could be more. The point is, I don't like the whole playoff system is ridiculous and stupid. But this woman, around 20 years ago, in 1999, she was on a Colorado football team. And then later she played for the University of New Mexico. She played in every practice session. She was on multiple teams as a walk-on. She didn't have a soccer scholarship that was allowing her to be at the school. She walked on because she wanted to play football. She paid her dues. And although she was not the best kicker on the team, because they had the opportunity, they put her in to kick some extra points after some touchdowns. Not field goals, by the way. Extra points, I believe, were the only thing she kicked. She might have done some kickoffs. That was 20 years ago she did that. This woman now kicked a really terrible kickoff. And good for her. She was out there. She might have went to practice a couple of times, but she wasn't spending all of her time getting smacked on the football field and really doing a ton of work on that. She got rewarded, and a lot of people are saying stunts. It's a stunt. And I would agree with that. So did she accomplish something? Sure, she was the first woman to play in an NCAA football game in the SEC. Is that a great accomplishment? I don't think so. When you don't do anything of that importance, you haven't contributed to the win, and you lost 40-0. Second breakfast, yeah, that's funny. It is really stupid. Really, really dumb. Absolutely ridiculous to celebrate this as if it's some sort of great accomplishment when you're making somebody look foolish. You're putting more attention on this, and people look at it and say, that's a pretty pathetic kick. And then you're taking away what truly was groundbreaking, which was a woman 20 years ago. When I was in high school, she kicked those extra points in a bowl game. And I remember seeing a story about her on ESPN. And it was relevant because she actually contributed to her winning team. Sorry, Pip. I don't think I know about second breakfast. What about 11sies? Dang, Mark Antony. There you go. So this whole woke culture, it makes the people that they're fighting for look stupid because they're trying to celebrate things that aren't accomplishments. It's not an accomplishment to kick a crappy kickoff when you have alternatives, when you have a punter who did a really good job that day. You can look up the statistics here on your own, but he kicked a ton of punts for something like over 40-yard average. Incredible punting. The only return on any of his punts was, I think, for 6. It was either 8 or 6 yards. That's tremendous. He had a great day punting. He in a loss, if anybody did anything of value on that team, it was that they didn't have punt returns for touchdowns because this guy was kicking punts effectively. And yet this woman who kicked a crappy kickoff, one crappy kickoff in a huge loss, she got the SEC Player of the Week. On what basis? On what basis did she earn that? This is why I've been thinking about awards lately and the subjectivity of basically people with agendas, mostly in the media, they're the ones who decide on who gets awards. I am not panning punting. And when I'm talking about that guy doing great punting, I am being completely 100% legit honest. The guy absolutely did a fantastic job of punting. Punting's really undervalued. And it's a shame that you're celebrating a woman who did nothing of value to her team, who actually may have made it worse by giving the other team favorable field position when you had a punter on your team who was capable of kicking it very well. And I'm sure has kicked a kickoff in his lifetime. I'm sure he wasn't just a punter in high school, most likely, or at least he knows how to do a kickoff and could do better. Matthew says, what about the women who created CRISPR, an amazing discovery in genetics? They got a Nobel Peace Prize, but barely any coverage. That's not cool. There's no glass ceiling. The glass ceiling for that was broken many years ago. That is a good microphone. Thank you, Nigel. Because it's not about true accomplishment. It's not about true accomplishment. What it is about is trying to make equity, not equality. It's all about equity. And here's the issue. Here's the problem issue. This is something I've been thinking about, writing a little bit about, maybe making a video about this idea of equality versus equity. Equality is that women they are not restricted. They are not kept out of the NBA, right? The NBA does not forbid women from being part of their league, their association. To my knowledge, there is no rule saying that women can't play in the NBA. The only thing keeping them out is their capability. And so because women cannot compete with men in basketball, they have their own association. That's fine. I'm okay with that. What's silly is to think that because the NBA owns a stake of the WNBA, they don't own it outright, but they're willing to foot the bill, so to speak, that there needs to be equity between the two. Not equality, but equity, which means that these women need to be paid more to make up for some injustice. Matthew says, well, Marie Curie broke it already, I guess, but that's a huge innovation. I'm not disparaging these amazing genetic discoveries. In fact, I think it's sad that we don't value those things. But I also think that it's, neither are we celebrating men's accomplishments in, there you go, P-Money, she's saying hello back. Neither are we celebrating men's accomplishments in scientific discoveries, because people just take for granted technological advancement and advancement in science. They take those things all for granted because they were born into the most technologically advanced society of all time, where more advancement in the knowledge of how the brain works has taken place in the last 10 years than the previous 30. That's insane, right? And that's how it is for a lot of technology. When we think about the computers that we used as youngins, some of us, Apple II computers, black and white or green monochrome screens, to having this in our hands. That's a huge accomplishment. And so those technological advancements or scientific discoveries aren't as valued by society because society sucks and because they take it for granted. Protect patriarchal punting. I agree, Jeff Potts. Equity. This equity idea. Also, one thing you'll notice in a lot of these talks is a disparagement of things like personal responsibility, hard work. These are the things that are being attacked. Matthew says, I was just a young lad then. True. These were things we used to think everyone believed in these things, right? This idea of working hard, that's now considered part of either a white supremacist ideology. That's an oppressive mentality. The idea of personal responsibility, being responsible for one's own actions, is now, if you say that, well, you're not taking into advantage all of the you're not taking into account, rather, all the disadvantages they had, all the suffering that they had to endure. And that's why they did X, Y, or Z. Or that's why they couldn't accomplish X, Y, or Z. And so you need to not give them equality, but give them equity by making up for those injustices. They're not talking about everybody having the capability or not even the capability. They're not talking about everybody having the opportunity, right? Because everyone has the opportunity to make something of themselves. It just has to be with hard work. They may not like how they have to go about it, but everyone has that same opportunity. You say, oh, no, they don't. They're born into this situation and there's all these disadvantages, but yet people crawl out of that all the time who are sometimes more significantly disadvantaged than the average person in those situations. Yeah, I guess Jill's just not as cool as Lady Vixen. Sorry, P-Money. So, the whole idea beyond this societal movement towards equity is not one based off of an idea of rational thought or on logic. And when you try to bring those things into account, they'll say that if you use statistics that disagree with what they say, those things, that's an example of the inherent systematic bias within the system. Right? I had a discussion with somebody one time about one of these issues, and I stated, I think I might be, Matthew. Very true. P-Money says, I meant to tell you, Vixen and FlyFoxPro. So my kids got a picture with Santa, and they were 6 feet away, but the camera angle made the picture look like they're on his lap. That is I actually like that. Most of the ones I've seen, there's like this plexiglass in front of them, and they clearly don't look like he's on their lap. So I think that's kind of cool. But it's still, these are old people. And so I guess if there's one thing I can sort of get behind, it's like, yeah, maybe don't sit on Santa Claus's lap and give him COVID. But what was I saying? Oh, so I was talking to somebody. We were having a discussion. I wouldn't call it an argument, but we were disagreeing. An argument in the classical sense, not yelling at one another or anything like that. But I brought up the statistics about the situation. And they said, I don't believe those statistics. And I said, these are it happened to be from the American Department of Justice. And I said, these are the statistics that are being reported from the FBI and the Department of Justice about this issue. And they said, I don't trust them. I said, well, on what basis do you say that these aren't true? Because they said, I don't believe those to be true. And I said, on what basis do you do that? Do you have alternative sources to judge these things? They didn't. There was no evidence. They just rejected them because from their perspective, they couldn't be true because they went against their narrative. And this is what you see. That's inherently systematically racist. That's sexist. It's just a fact. It's just figures. It's just I'm giving you facts and statistics about this, and you're calling them inherently flawed. Not even dealing with them honestly, just ruling them out of hand. And that's what you see a lot today. I saw recently, I read an article about a Santa Claus, a mall Santa type, who a young boy, he was really excited this is the first time he was excited to go see Santa Claus. This is one of these families that pretends that if your children are in the room, I don't want to destroy their lives and the lies that you've molded for them. But fair warning, this is one of these families that pretends that Santa Claus is real. So the kid was excited to go see Santa. He went to see Santa. Santa said, "Oh, what do you want for Christmas?" And the kid said, "Oh, I don't know. Or what do you want? This or that?" No, I want a Nerf gun. A Nerf gun. And this Santa Claus fella, he says to the kid, "No guns." The mom clarifies, "A Nerf gun." And Santa Claus says, no guns at all. Your parents can get you that, but Santa Claus isn't going to bring you a gun. This guy thought it was okay to moralize and preach to this little kid it's not like he asked for a slave for Christmas. It's not like he asked for an aborted fetus for Christmas. It's not like he asked for someone to be assassinated for Christmas. He asked for a Nerf gun. Yeah, he'll shoot your eye out, kid. That's not the place of the mall Santa. I've never seen that movie, by the way. And I have no intention to ever see it. A Christmas Story. Actually, my older brother and I. Oh yeah, you're not talking about Christmas Story. You're talking about the Night They Saved Christmas, which has Art Carney. I actually like that one, even though he says Santa doesn't believe in war. Oh, it's so dumb. It's the most cringe. It's a pretty cringe movie. It has one of the Charlie's Angels in it. I can't remember. Jacqueline Bisset, is that one of them? I think she might be in it. Art Carney is Santa Claus. Paul Williams of writing The Rainbow Connection and winning Oscars for his songwriting and playing the Penguin on the Batman the Animated Series. He was also in it as an elf. So that one, yes, I have seen that one. Before I got sidetracked, what was I saying? Oh, so speaking about Christmas Story, my older brother and I, one Christmas, we got Red Ryder BB guns for Christmas. And we never shot our eyes out. No one ever got permanently injured with those. Birds did. Pack rats did. But no humans got permanently injured with that. So, yeah, The Night They Saved Christmas. It's on YouTube if people want to check it out. Not right now, but if they want to watch it. That was one that we had a VHS of that. It's an old TV Christmas movie. It's basically about this oil company that discovers that there's oil around the North Pole, and they're trying to drill for oil. And if they do, they're going to destroy Santa's workshop. So that's what it's about. It's the typical 80s and 90s like anti-industrialist, like pro-environmental movie. In this case, Santa doesn't believe in war. He's totally against violence, which is not true, by the way. The true person who Santa Claus is based off of, Saint Nicholas, right? Is a famous story about him is that he punched a heretic in the face at the Council of Nicaea, a man named Arius. Apparently he punched him in the face because he didn't believe in the divinity of Christ. He denied the divinity of Christ, and St. Nicholas punched him square right in the face. So, clearly Santa Claus is pro-violence, at least against Arian heretics. Right? So that is that. That's all we're talking about today, apparently, is all kinds of craziness, crazy things. But yeah, if you didn't see my video about the WNBA earlier, I talked a little bit more about it. I probably have said it just as much on this stream as I did on that, but you should still watch it. Leave a comment. I posted it somewhere, and somebody just saw the thumbnail and the title, and they assumed what the content of the video was going to be like, or my purposes in it. And they posted a comment saying, well, it's based off of how much money they make. And I was like, oh, geez, man. You didn't even watch it. Clearly, they didn't even watch the video. And you're commenting on the social media link. It's why, unfortunately, the way that social media works is like, it's very hard to get somebody to leave that social media thing to go to the actual source and read through a complete article. They're just looking at the headline. And so maybe I should have said why the WNBA sucks, and then maybe they would have not left a comment or even engaged all of them. Like, yeah, I agree with that. Fly. I also posted a video about this comic, Superman Peace on Earth, which is a Christmas-themed Alex Ross comic. If you guys aren't familiar with this, it's pretty good. I would say it's not as good as the other major work from Alex Ross, Kingdom Come, Marvel's Justice. It's not as good as any of those, but it's a nice addition to your library, I think. So if you guys want to see a little bit more about that, look at some pictures and hear my thoughts on it, I would definitely do that. And there's a compilation of more than one story here. It's got Batman, Wonder Woman, and the Justice League, and also a Captain Marvel story. So if you guys are all interested in that, check that out. If you haven't already. Again, don't expect the high levels of entertainment that you got from some of his other work. It's not really a narrative heavy story. So, boom. I need something else to talk about. I'm done. I'm done with topics. I have nothing. Oh man, I was on the roll too. We talked about some really great stuff. Didn't get it. How loud was that? How loud was that, I wonder? You let me know in the comments how loud that was. Oh, man. The video game awards are happening. I think that might be right now. Let's see. Video game awards. Is that... When is that? Oh my word. The Last of Us Part 2 wins Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Talk about irrelevant. Talk about completely 100% irrelevant. The Last of Us 2, a game almost universally hated by the fans who played it. Just absolutely woke city. Wins Game of the Year, because the Game Awards, like most award shows, are stupid and ridiculous and completely based on agenda. Go back and look at the history of the Academy Awards, and you'll see that Alfred Hitchcock never won a single Best Director award. Are we to believe that every single year that man directed some of the greatest films ever made, there was one, it was just a film that was just slightly better than his. Ridiculous. The Last of Us 2. You got to be kidding me. Oh, and by the way, if you didn't know, a new Mass Effect game's coming out. Gonna be, considering how woke Mass Effect 3 was, and that was 10 years ago, coming up on, I don't even know, that it might have been like 8 years ago. The point is, that was a while ago, and that game was pretty woke. I can't even imagine how they're going to ruin this. And also be aware that there's hardly any of the original BioWare employees there, the people that actually worked on Mass Effect, that made it good. And EA owns it, and they've made terrible games so far. It's like Dragon Age Inquisition was okay, and that's the last BioWare game. Are we to expect that this will be any good at all? Do we forget Mass Effect Andromeda? I'm not excited for a new Mass Effect game at all. Let it go. Stop demanding sequels to things. Just let things stand on their own and make something new. But they can't. EA doesn't care about making a quality game as much as they care about making money off of their existing IP that they own. They want to perpetuate the Mass Effect IP so they can continue to sell merchandise based on it. And you better believe there will be a multiplayer function in this game that supports microtransactions, probably loot boxes because it's EA, and will be a terrible game to play. This is a terrible article that I'm looking at. I want to see a list of what awards people have won. The best announcement. This is a problem with video game media in general and with the video game industry, is they're not concerned with actually analyzing video games seriously, taking video games seriously, and really thinking about, is this a quality game? If this is a narrative heavy game, is the narrative worthwhile? Is the gameplay worthwhile? What aspects make something a good game? They're not concerned with that at all. They're concerned with hype. They're concerned with whatever the next thing that comes out is. And so here I type the Game Awards 2020 into my search. What comes up? The Game Awards, the biggest announcements. Now here's a list of the awards that happened. As much as I hate the Oscars and the Emmys, if I look up the Oscars on the date that they happen, I'm going to get a running tally of who won what award. Right at the top of the list. But the Video Game Awards, what matters to them is not, other than the fact that Last of Us won, is they're only telling what the announcements are. Because nobody cares who wins FPS of the year. Oh man, how bad is the buffering? Is it absolutely terrible?
Not on my end.
Just
well, at least the audio.
You're listening to it. The audio is okay. I don't know why it does this.
The video is not great. It looks like.
I don't know what the deal is. Hopefully it's just everybody can hear me. Oh man. The video game industry as a whole is some of the most scumbaggy people, and then even worse than these huge companies that make the biggest games, and how all the terrible stuff they do to take advantage. So jittering a bit. Okay. Mark Antony, I'm not sure jittering is a word that we're allowed to use anymore. That might be too close to, it just sounds bad. It sounds problematic to me. Even worse than these companies that take advantage of people, that play on compulsive people that are compulsively buy things, that want to see these, I would say, this is not, I don't think there ought to be legislation against these things, but I think they ought to police themselves. Let me be clear. My perspective is that these things should be legal to do, but they're not, that doesn't make them ethical or moral to do. Mark Anthony says Webster's dictionary says otherwise. Yeah, there's a lot of words that have historic definitions that I'm not going to use here and get in trouble. These companies, they prey on people. They take advantage of people's sin natures, their desire and compulsion for advancing in a game. They make it easier for people. They reward people for spending money, and they penalize people that just try to play the game that they already purchased. So I have not bought a new sports title for many years. The last new sports game I bought brand new for myself, that wasn't a digital game, that's different, but a physical copy, was in NBA 2K11, I think, was the last one. And I bought that because it had this new Michael Jordan mode where you could play the historic Michael Jordan games and things. And I thought that was cool. And I played a ton of that game, right? But that was one of these games that I remember, if you played online, you earned extra points to make your player better. And then they started making it so that, well, you could pay money to make your player better. Well, and then they've got this new mode where you get these cards and you build your team. And, well, if you buy packs, then you get better cards. Well, you can just buy this card outright. That's way better than anything you could get unless you played hundreds and hundreds and thousands of hours into the game. So you've already spent $60 on a brand new game, and then you're spending more and more and more and more and more. And they want you to believe that the industry can't survive without these practices. The industry can't survive without microtransactions. We couldn't bring you this level of a video game. But when you compare what independent companies, things like Larian Studios, Paradox Interactive, which isn't really tiny, I mean, it's a pretty big company, THQ Nordic, some of these companies that are much smaller in scale, what they're able to do with games that don't have these practices, they're able to make money. They're able to sell you a game at a reasonable price with a ton of content, amazing games. Oh, but you, big company, you can't do that. Why? Because you're not good enough? You're not innovative enough? You're not creative enough? You have huge franchises. And then something becomes popular. Oh, battle royales are popular. So now we got to have a battle royale in all of our video games have to have some sort of multiplayer aspect. Yeah, Matthew, I know, is a huge fan of Paradox Interactive. That's why one of the reasons why I brought that one up, because I know that there are a lot of great games from them, and he loves a lot of them. This fiction that these companies need to price their games at $70 new. That's the new AAA video game price is $70 for PS5 and Xbox 360 games. Is incredible. It's absolutely insane. These are games, these big titles are bringing in sometimes billions of dollars, but you can't just, how much are they costing to make? Does GTA 6, whenever it comes out, does that need to be $70 to make up for the price it costs to make the game? How much are you spending if you're bringing in billions of dollars of revenue? Are you the WNBA? Is that what you are? Take-Two, Rockstar, EA, 2K. Take-Two and Rockstar and 2K are all the same company, by the way. Activision Blizzard, are you the WNBA? Are you spending more money than you're bringing in? You need to increase the ticket prices? No, you know why we know they aren't? Because they still exist and they're still putting games out every single year. The game companies that do not succeed and can't make money, they don't last, and they don't buy out other companies, and they don't continue to make games every year. Atari failed 1,000,000 times. The first company called Atari failed. The second company called Atari failed. The Atari that exists now is not the same Atari. Someone bought the rights to call their company Atari. The companies that can't make good games, they fail and they go away. Or they change their business models. Sega couldn't compete after the Genesis. The Saturn barely sold. The Dreamcast was innovative, but didn't sell. And so they had to turn to something else, and they started making other games. They started just making games. Or whatever that gambling thing over there in Japan is called. I want to say Plinketo, but that's from Red Letter Media, based on a Price is Right game. What is it called? I don't remember what it's. I'm sure somebody will tell me. But Sega, Sammy is the parent company. They found a way to make money. They adapted and changed. And it wasn't by just raising the prices. Because I guarantee you, I can go on Steam, I can go on GOG, Green Man Gaming, wherever you buy your games. Even the Epic Game Store, which I've never bought a game from and I never plan on it, but they give me a free game like every week and I'm there, man. Free game? I've got like 60 games now. Some of them are duplicates I already own, but that's okay. I still get them anyways. But they give me a free game all the time. Fantastic. Oh, and the games for the Epic Game Store is putting out right now that are available for free are games from Obsidian Studios, Pillars of Eternity, and Tyranny. And those are great games. So definitely, if you don't have an Epic Games account, go sign up for one. Even if you don't have a PC capable of it at right now, go sign up for it. Get those games for free so they're in your account. And then if you get a PC that's able to play them, then you can at that point. I can go on, anyways, the point is I can go on any of these services and I can buy a game that is better than these games that are going to be charged $70, and it's going to be far less. It's going to be cheaper. And one of the things that is bothersome to me, one of the things that concerns me is the lack of physical media, everything moving towards digital. If you go on to, you say you have an Xbox and you go on to the Xbox store and you say, I want to buy the old NBA game that I played a couple of years ago. Or you think like, well, I know that sports titles generally go down in price when a new one comes out. And so I used to always go to GameStop and I'd buy a couple of years old one because I don't really care about the brand new. I just wanted to play a sports game. I didn't care about necessarily having the current teams and everything every year. So I just buy an old one, right? But you go on the digital store, they're all the same price. You can pay the same price for NBA 2K16 as you do NBA 2K21. Because they don't want you to have an alternative. They want you to buy the current one so they can get you to buy their loot boxes, to buy their microtransactions, to spend your money, to have more of your money. Because they're not making enough by selling Grand Theft Auto for $1 billion. Billions of dollars. They're not making enough by just selling the sports title. They have to make more money. They can't make more money by putting out more games, by developing new IPs, by developing new games. No, they have to make each more. It's more profitable for them to do these predatory practices in order to make money on each individual thing. By having a live service game, one that is continually changing and the meta of it is changing, and it's promoting that people spend money to get packs of cards or to get an advantage in the game or to have a season pass or something. This ongoing amount of money is more profitable than if they put out a new game. It sustains the lifetime of the game until something else becomes popular, like Fortnite, where Fortnite was it just became popular. Kids liked it. It was free. People were able to do that. And it takes over as the new popular game from something else. Until that happens, those games tend to stick around, and they continue to make money. And then they say, okay, well, we need to put out a new Call of Duty with a new Battle Royale system or whatever's popular. And, well, then that'll be, then we make all our money on that. Whereas you go back to the last 2 console generations now, the Xbox 360, and you look at something like Halo 3, and it was huge. So many people were playing that. You could always find a game right there. You're playing a game, and there was no extra money involved. You had to pay an Xbox Live service fee, but other than that, you weren't paying Bungie anything. They were maintaining servers, and you could play it, and you had lots of fun doing it. And things change and advance, but now everything has to have a multiplayer function because it might be the next big thing that they're able to make more money on. Forget making a game immersive and good. Forget making a game that you keep coming back to over and over and over again and you don't get tired of because it's so good and so fun, right? Will there be another Civilization 5? Because I've played Civilization 6 and it's just not the same. It's fun, it's okay, but when I want to play Civilization, I go back to Civilization 5. Is there going to be another game that just makes you want to play it over and over and over again? From these companies, when they put all of their time and energy and focus into the online component that a few years ago now, when it's not profitable, they're going to shut down the servers and you can't even play. Around the time that Overwatch came out, another game came out called Battleborn. And for a moment, there were people saying, oh, Battleborn's actually better than Overwatch. The issue is nobody plays that game anymore. It was only a live service game. There was no offline component to it. It's a worthless console game. You can't do anything other than playing it online. And if there's nobody playing it online, or there's no servers being supported, the game is worthless. It's a dead media. Now, someone might be able to take it, well, they're putting it into their computer and they're using the assets of it and they create something. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about with the average person, the average consumer. It's worthless to them. There's no resale value for it. If they bought it digitally, which if you have an alternative to buying digitally, that's one of the sad things about becoming a PC, primarily a PC gamer, is I've been one most of my life, is that digital is the only option. With a console, the convenience factor has made it so that I think probably the next generation, possibly, there won't be a physical option. And that kind of sucks because you have no resale value. You don't own it. It's another victory for them in terms of you owning the thing that you're purchasing. If I buy this book, I own this physical book. I can sell it. I can cut it up and make a piece of artwork with it. And I can sell that. I can do whatever I want with that. In terms of the physical nature of it. Now, I can't reproduce it and sell it on my own, right? But I own it. And what video game companies want you to think is, no, you don't actually own this. You're just borrowing the game. You're leasing the game from us. You're in an agreement that we're just licensing it to you. I don't remember paying you a licensing fee. I paid GameStop a fee, and they gave me a physical copy of something. And then they say, well, no, but when you turn on the game, you're agreeing to our licensing agreement, in which you agree to A, B, C, D. That's a negative thing when you have companies that are scumbags. When you have companies that can disappear a game from the internet, make it unavailable. There's historical and preservation reasons for these games to continue to exist. And when they have a physical medium, they can be ripped. People can take that and they can put it into onto their computer, and they can make it available through emulation, and they can do all these things. But when that physical medium goes away and it disappeared from the internet and it's not available, you have to hope that someone has that on their computer right now and can make that available to you. There's a need for preservation of video games that the companies are not doing. So one of the most expensive games in terms of its value today in a secondary market is a game called Panzer Dragoon Saga, made by Sega for the Sega Saturn. So already we know it's scarce because it was on the Sega Saturn, and the Sega Saturn didn't sell very well. So every game on the Sega Saturn is more scarce than, say, a game. It is inherently more scarce than a game on the PlayStation 1, which was a great selling console of that same time period. And these Sega lost their game files. They got deleted or corrupted or something. And so the actual files that they used to make the game don't exist anymore. So the only thing that exists is the physical game. What happens when in a few years politics change, what's appropriate changes, because it happens continually, and there's some game they're embarrassed of. They want to apologize for the representation of this segment of society, and they disappear that game. And there is no physical game to go back it up. And you got to hope that someone doesn't uninstall it to install the new huge game that they've got to download. Because once it's uninstalled, it's gone, man. It happens. An example is I bought a game on the Xbox 360. I bought Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Marvel vs. Capcom 2. I bought it digitally. And then it was taken off of the Xbox Live store. Licensing reasons, whatever it was taken away. Once I deleted it, I could not download it again. My Xbox red ringed. Done. I didn't have the same hard drive. Gone. I couldn't re-download it. I bought this game, but yet I can't buy it. I bought that game on my phone. I paid money for this game on my phone. Can't download it anymore. There's a Tetris, which I don't remember if I actually paid money for, but if I did, EA is the worst. The actual worst. But I downloaded this Tetris game, and it's just basic Tetris, right? It's just playing Tetris, man. And that wasn't making them enough money just selling you this game. It didn't have any ads in it. It didn't have any microtransactions in it. Well, they can't continue to make money after they sell you it. So, of course, they removed that from the Apple store. And then they make one available with advertisements, microtransactions, and the like. And you can't download that Tetris game. And I could keep it on my phone, right? I could back it up. And then the next time that I needed to upgrade my phone, or I had to load it from that backup. There the game was. Until that fateful day when it stopped working with the current Apple iPhone operating system. That terrible day. And then it's not available for download anymore. And you can't play it because it doesn't work with the iOS. Now, one of my favorite puzzle games, made by just one dude out there. One guy. Well, it's actually a few people. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who developed the game, and 2 different ones who did music. And just a small team, right? And this is a game called Double. And it's basically like a bubble shooter game, right? But it's got a little bit of physics to it in that the things can swing around. They don't just stick immediately, and they're sort of bouncy. Great game. When it becomes incompatible with the iOS, those little developers, they go in and they upload a patch. It's not always right on time. But they say, hey, here's the new patch. It now works with the current iOS. Here you go. A tiny little team who just wants to sell a little game. Yeah, like Bust-A-Move, right? Bubble. EA, a company that brings in just ungodly amounts of money, is unwilling to sell me a game that doesn't require microtransactions or advertisements. A better functioning Tetris game. They're willing to get rid of that in order to mooch money off of me. But this and not upgrade their old games, right? Because it's not financially feasible for them. Because there's not, in order to pay somebody to patch the game to make it able to be played in the current iOS, that requires money, and they deem it not worth it. But this small company, these guys that they want their game, they know there's a lot of people out there that still play it and still love that game. They want to support it because they care about their product. Ridiculous. Tetris should have won the Game Awards. I should look harder for it's literally just announcements on everything I look at. I should probably just look up like award winners, video game awards winners. Is that so hard to tell? Oh, here we go. The full list of winners. Oh, thank God. Because it's absurd to look up the game awards and expect to find out who won. You have to specifically type in winners. All right. Okay, this is worthless. I got to show this. All right, look at this. As the show continues, we'll continuously update the winners for each category in the Game Awards. This is MSN.com, right? Microsoft's kind of a big company. The list below are the nominees for each category with the winner in bold. All right, well, let's see the first winner. Game of the year. Which one's in bold? Oh, none of them. This is from a day ago, my friends. Which games won? Oh, to say winner next to it? Oh, okay. So as we go down, they fix it. Oh my, this is from a day ago. This has been announced. The game of the year was announced. This is how little they care about it. And I guarantee you they have an up-to-date announcements for new video games. The Game Awards are completely irrelevant, and they really don't matter. And the more I think about it, the more awards in general mean so very little to me. The best of the year. This is the best film of the year. Really, was it? Was it the best picture of the year? Is whatever let's look it up. Was it 1994 Toy Story came out or 1995? I think 1995. Yep, boom, 1995. All right. So let's look up the 1995 Academy Awards. It might actually be 96. Let's see. Oh, they took place on my shelf. So I want 1996. I want the 68th Academy Awards. Let's see. Awards. Best Picture, Braveheart. Okay, I'll give it that. Yep, I will concede that Braveheart might be better than Toy Story. So that year they got me. They disproved my point. Also, Babe was nominated. Fantastic. Amazing. Babe. What's another great film that I like? That I want to see. What movie would I consider great? You know what we'll do? Let's see what movie won the year that Psycho 1960. So we want 1961 Academy Awards. The 33rd Academy Awards. Let's see here. As you go back in time, there's a more of a chance that it's going to be something good. Where's Best Picture, you fools? This is a worthless website. The actual Oscars website, don't ever go on. It's terrible. Best Motion Picture, here we go. Winner, The Apartment by Billy Wilder. Sure. So when you go back in time, it might be. There might be more of a chance that it's as good. But generally, I don't like... How do you judge these things? How do you judge these things? The Best Picture? Best Actor? Who's the most popular? Who do we think should win the award this year? If anyone thinks that... Like, I have seen the Philadelphia Story. Okay, if you're not familiar with this, it's a comedy with Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant and James Stewart, who that's what he always billed as, but Jimmy Stewart is what we call him as a culture. And it is boring. I like a lot of old movies. It's boring, man. It is. And Jimmy Stewart won the Academy Award for Best Actor for this. But he didn't win for Mr. Smith Goes to Washington or It's a Wonderful Life. You know, the actual iconic roles that we still remember today that define who he is as a cultural icon. The films that matter. We're giving him a Best Actor award for the Philadelphia Story. No. Nope. Sorry. There might be some years where somebody is objectively amazing. Like, I think Daniel Day-Lewis probably deserved his Academy Award for There Will Be Blood just for saying, like, I drink your milkshake, I drink it up, and making that, like, compelling. These crazy lines and this crazy dialogue and everything. Like, I could concede that one might be legitimate. But in general, how does one judge these things? These best of. This is the best game of the year. How about the one I enjoyed the most? The one that had the most impact on my life. Here's why it was meaningful to me. I think that's more valuable to me than some award given by people I don't even know. Some writers that have nothing in common with me. They haven't seen everything. They haven't read everything. One of the funny things about Academy Award history is that they used to allow the Extras Guild. So this was the union for extras in Hollywood was allowed to vote for the awards. And so they'd always give the Academy Award to Walter Brennan because he was really popular with the Extras Guild. This is what I read one time. I don't know the truth or veracity of this. But so they just game the system. It's are you popular with this Academy voters? Who are these Academy voters? At least with the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, you can look up and say, okay, these are who they are. It doesn't mean anything. With the Golden Globes, what a joke. The only thing good about the Golden Globes is when Ricky Gervais hosts them and he absolutely destroys everybody and you see how uncomfortable they look as he's destroying them and just absolutely tearing them apart. But these award shows are so stupid. And then you have like these sports awards, right? And something that I saw today that was interesting was There's a boxer, if you're not familiar with heavyweight boxing. There's multiple heavyweight championships out there, and one of them is held right now by a man named Tyson Fury. Now, he has held all of the major heavyweight championships, world heavyweight championships, at one point or another. He's an undefeated boxer who, only reason he doesn't hold the other ones is because they're stripped from him because he wasn't competing anymore. But then he came back and he won. He won the only championship he hadn't won at that point. I think it's the WBC title. And he had a great year. He became the champion, and then all this stupid COVID stuff happened, and so he wasn't able to defend it anymore. But the BBC, he's British, by the way. The BBC does some sort of sports award. Sportsman of the Year or something. And Tyson Fury requested that that his name be taken off of the award list. He said, I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want you to give me this award. I'm not interested in it. And the BBC said, no, we're keeping you on this list for this award. Oh man, it's ridiculous. Because why? Because they want people to tune in, and Tyson Fury's a big name. The Game Awards is the worst thing out there, man. All it is a big commercial for what the new companies, the new games coming out, so that the masses can lap it up. They can be super excited about the new Mass Effect game, forgetting that BioWare hasn't made a good game since Dragon Age Inquisition, which I remind you was on Xbox 360 and Xbox One. And even then, it's not that great. It's okay. It's certainly no Mass Effect. I'll say that's a good game. They've made a great game since Mass Effect 3. And even then, you could see it waning. You could see the issues creeping in. I think Lady Vixen is playing Mass Effect 3 right now as we speak. Pretty impressive. Now, the Game Awards has only ever been pandering and commercials promoting the new announcements. Having entire shows, the E3s, the PAXs built completely around announcing new video games isn't enough. No, you need to also do it at your award show. You also need to turn that into a giant commercial where it's not just that you're having commercials during the actual period with commercials, but you're also announcing things. And I'm supposed to believe that these people are objective. Let's look at these Game Awards again, folks. Let's look at these Game Awards. I want to point something out to you, which I haven't read these. I don't know what's on here, but I'm willing to bet that there's not many independent games on here, folks. There might be one or two, but I'm supposed to believe that none of those merit being on this list. Nintendo, Bethesda, Square Enix. Here's one that's a sort of a Sony Entertainment. Sony Interactive Entertainment. Oh, here's a small company. Oh, no, Sony. Hades. Oh, a small company for Game of the Year. Fantastic. 1 out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm supposed to believe that these ones are as good as or better than every one that came out. Final Fantasy VII Remake is better than these new independent games that came out. Best game direction. What does that even entail? How do you judge that? How does one judge best game direction? It's not exactly like a movie. Best narrative? Okay, let's look. Okay, all the same stuff. Oh, Half-Life Alyx from Valve, a huge company. Oh, here's one dude for best narrative. Oh no, that's the guy nominated for it. I don't know who made this. I'm not familiar with that game. Maybe one of you will. 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim. I don't know. Again, huge companies. Oh, there's that small company. So it's like a super giant game. So it's huge. It's super giant, by the way. Xbox Game Studios, Sony Interactive, Bethesda. Oh, here finally we've got down to the winners, guys. Here's they added these ones. Let's see. Best audio design. The same games. Oh, Capcom's in there this time, though. For another remake. They couldn't be bothered to make an actual good new game. They got to sell you another game over again that you already played. Probably on multiple systems already. Best performance. Guys, I'm expected to believe this. That was the best performance in a game. How woke are the Game Awards, friends? Again, Games for Impact. Oh, a small company. Another small company. Oh, they've got two. I don't know anything about these games. They might be good. But these aren't the big awards. They're not nominated for those. But look how many Xbox Game Awards. EA, Bungie, Best Ongoing, Destiny 2. Cover your ears, Lady Vixen. Bullshit. At least Bungie saved their game from Activision. I'll give them that. They took it back from Activision. No Man's Sky won. I have heard good things about No Man's Sky getting better. But best mobile game. Who won best mobile game? I want to know. It's just ridiculous, friends. It's just ridiculous. What can you say? The message games. Exactly, Mark. What can you say, man? Among Us was on there. That probably deserved. That probably should have been the game of the year. What's that other one that was real popular this year? Yeah, it won, but it didn't win game of the year. It won. Where is it? Fall Guys won best community support, and then what did Among Us win? Oh, it didn't win. It didn't win anything. It might have won, but it's not listed on here. Best multiplayer, maybe it won, or best mobile. That's what it was nominated for. It doesn't say who won on what I'm looking at, but Fall Guys won something. I'm pretty sus. It's probably true. Here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. The video game awards are a bunch of garbage. Absolutely horrendous garbage. Now, if you don't know, I am involved in a video game YouTube channel, and it is called Coin A Geek. I post things there from time to time. But I have found that covering video game stuff, I did when it was a buddy and me meeting together every week to do a podcast. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it because we were talking about whatever we wanted to talk about, the big news from that week, and I got to rant and rave about it. But there's only so much fun you can have about ranting about these things. And he's more inherently positive about the video game industry than I am. And so it is a tale of two cities with us. So if you want to watch that, there's some content there. They put up a new video he did with somebody about Legend of Zelda that looked pretty cool. The taskbar didn't go up when you scanned. Lady Vixen, time to eject him from the ship. He's an imposter. Uh-oh. Yeah, I don't like that crap. I like having my taskbar always on there. But one thing I will never be able to be like a Yang Yeah. Just reporting on whatever video game news comes across my screen, or a Jim Sterling, which I watch Jim Sterling from time to time. I agree with some of his criticisms, but not his solutions, and definitely not his methods. But I find him interesting from time to time. I'll never even be able to be somebody like a reviewer like the Worth a Buy channel, which if you guys aren't subscribed to Worth a Buy, absolutely you need to be if you like video games. One of the few objective reviewers out there who at least he admits his biases, but he's willing to really criticize a game and have reasons why he's criticizing it. He's not just going to throw out a 10 because it's a popular game. But I'm never going to be able to be like those guys because I just don't care enough. I like video games. I play a considerable amount of them when I have the time. Lady Vixen is playing a video game right now as we speak. We play video games in this house. But I just don't care enough, man. I like Assassin's Creed Unity. It came with the Xbox I purchased as a free game, a digital version of it. And I played a considerable amount of it. Never beat it. I enjoyed it. But I'm not going to force myself to beat it. And I'm going to rate it on a game I didn't beat. What am I going to give it a rating of? A 7. It was a solid game, but I didn't feel compelled to finish. No, I haven't beat Celeste yet because I am streaming it. So I only play it when I stream it. It's so we can have funny things to laugh about. I do love platformers. It doesn't mean that I'm good at them. Again, we've talked about the reasons why. I didn't play them growing up. I had PC games, and there was not that many platformers on PC, and they're very different from console platformers. So there's reasons why I'm not good. But I do take personal responsibility that I have not taken the time to get good at them. To circle back around to a theme we talked about earlier. Yeah, give Mark Antony those remakes and remasters. Oh, just churn them out, man. Keep churning them out. Mass Effect remake, I need that, man, because I can't play it on my Xbox One over here. I can't pull out the I literally can't pull out the Xbox 360 because the disc tray isn't working. But I could get that thing. I could send it over to somebody that knows how to fix those things, or research it myself and fix it, put it in there, right? And I could hypothetically play it on my Xbox 360. But she's playing it on the Xbox One right over here. What do I need a remake for? Oh, we need to remake Perfect Dark another time? She's playing it already. What do we need a remaster for? These remasters, they exist for a couple of reasons. To make money and to erase the history of the game. When we look at film, we tend to judge the films based on when they're made. If you are someone that has a look of sense and you look at a silent film and you judge that based, you say, well, it doesn't have 3D, computer generated graphics like the Avengers movie, you're not being fair. But we can generally go back and watch a lot of those films. They still exist. Now that is becoming increasingly hard as companies pull back on their physical distribution and they make things digital. It's not, you'd think that would expand how many things they offer, but it actually restricts how many things they offer. There's not as many things available digitally as there was on DVD. There's not as many things available on DVD as there was on VHS, and so on and so forth. For various reasons. But these video games are, instead of formatting them and making them look pretty decent or okay on a modern console and releasing them digital, I'm not completely against that. But when you're remaking the game, it goes beyond a remaster to a remake, where you're changing things in the narrative. You're making the older versions obsolete. That's the original thing. We complain about George Lucas with this. We say, George Lucas, stop tinkering with these movies. You're changing them and they're worse. But then when it happens in video games, we're like, oh, hell yeah, I want to play that game again. Little do I know it's the same game, except it's completely different. So they sold me the same narrative and the same gameplay, except it's not the same game I played. N64 doesn't play nice with his HD TV. That's why. There is a Perfect Dark remake already, though, Mark. It was on Xbox 360. That's what you're talking about. I understand why. I understand why people from that era, the N64 and the PlayStation 1, early PlayStation 2 era, I understand why some people want to see those games remade. Don't get me wrong. They want to experience those games, but they don't like the graphics from back then. They only have HD television. They don't have an old CRT television, tube television. I do. I keep one around so that I can play the games the way they were meant to be played on the types of televisions they are. Now, that not everyone needs to keep a CRT television around in their house. That's why I think there is a place for figuring out a way to make them look decent on a newer console. And I'm not opposed to them digitally putting those out. But guess what they're not doing? They're not putting those out at a reduced price and just giving you a sort of nostalgia hit. They're remaking them for full price so they can sell you them for full price. But yeah, buy the rare replay game for Xbox 360 or for Xbox One. It's got the Perfect Dark remake on it. I'm sure you already know this, by the way. I'm just preaching to the choir here. I'm retitling the title of this video. Last of Us Game of the Year. Boom. Nintendo will Nintendo. What do you mean by that? Nintendo sells a lot of their old games on their newer consoles, their virtual consoles. Not all of them, but one thing that kind of sucks that I hate is I have the compilation. It's like a Sega Genesis compilation of the great Sega Genesis games that I bought for Xbox 360. And a lot of those games are available on the Xbox One, but they don't, it's not backwards compatible. Because they want to sell them all to you individually now. That compilation thing, that's passé. Mark Antony, full price. I'm surprised they didn't bring back the Virtual Console. They're trying to push Nintendo Switch Online hard. Yeah. Nintendo makes decent games. There's very rarely does Nintendo make a completely terrible game. It happens, but they generally are pretty good. And their games maintain, the prices stay high, especially now. Well, I should speak of the Nintendo Switch, but their games are harder to come by for the last couple of generations. I don't have a Nintendo Switch, so I don't know. I have a Nintendo Entertainment System. I have a Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I have a Nintendo 64. I have a GameCube. I have a Wii, and I have a Wii U. I also have an original Game Boy, a Game Boy Color, a Game Boy Advance, a Game Boy Advance SP, a Nintendo DS, a Nintendo 3DS. So I just need that Switch, and then all my Nintendo completionist nature will be complete. At one time, I was into all the retro game stuff, and I would go around looking for retro games and buy them. But then I got married and had a child, so that went away. And it becomes this thing of like this collecting nature. And it's like, am I really going to play and beat all of these games? And then once I play them and I realize, it's not really for me. What do I do with that? Do I sell it? Or do I just keep it around? Maybe the kid will like to play it. I did trade in a game that is fairly rare. I've played it. It was no good. It's called the RAD Robot Alchemic Drive, I think. I traded it in at a used bookstore for credit to buy Christmas presents with. But it's like, usually goes for like over $100 on eBay, I think. I didn't look at the sold listings on that, but I know that at least it's the buy it now price on that. So I got a fair bit of money from the store for that one. But generally, I keep most of the video games that I have. All right. So we've talked about these terrible video games awards. Oh, my word. Best sports / racing game. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake. A remake. Sega Saturn, Nintendo 64, Wii, PS3, PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One, PSP, DSi, 3DS XL, new 3DS XL, NES Classic, SNES Classic, Sega Genesis Mini. Whew. I don't have a Sega Saturn. I don't have a PS3 or a PS4 or a PS4 Pro. I have a PlayStation 2. I have... That's it. I have an original Xbox, an Xbox 360, and an Xbox One. I went the Xbox route on that one. I'm also not a fan of these whole SNES Classic stuff, the NES Classic stuff. Everybody was all about those things. And I was like, I already have most of these games in physical media. I don't need this. It's the original PS3 too, the fat PS3, which means effectively he has a PS2 and a PS1 also. Yes, that is the one to get if you can. I need to get a PS3. There's a lot of Japanese role-playing games I need to play. Oh, I also have a PSP. I've never played it. Was it PSP? Yeah, PSP I have. I've never actually played it. I bought it at Goodwill for like $4, I think, what I spent on it. I'm not sure I have any games for it. I have a bunch of Atari games, but no Atari. So, yeah. Eventually, when the little guy is older, I'll bust out that CRT television, plug in that Super Nintendo, and we'll play some Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in Time, and Tournament Fighters, and all the games I loved as a kid. Mark Kennedy says, I pretty much only played Crisis Core on it, and yes. I've never played Yes. I want to play like the Atlas games. Like there's Persona 3 and some of these other Persona games. Which Atari 2600 is what I have a bunch of games for. Somebody gave them to me. They were actually my brother's work, and my brother found them. And he's like, are these yours? And the guy's like, yeah, those are mine. He's like, oh, my brother collects old video games. He's like, oh, does he want them? He's like, yeah, I'm sure he'd love them. He's like, okay, you can have them. And so I got them. And there's a bunch of them too. For like it's more Atari games than most people have. I don't think it's like a huge collection for all the games that came out for Atari, but it's a pretty decent one. But I love Atlas games, which is owned by Sega, by the way. But Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, those are my favorite Japanese role-playing games. Jeff Potts says, I believe my 2600 still works. Yeah, I need to get one, man. How's the joystick on it? I hear those go out. The problem is I don't think there was a Panasonic 3DO. I always look for 3DOs, and there was also a couple of companies that put out like VCR, basically a VCR / Sega Genesis combo that are worth money. So if you're a guy that happens to walk through thrift stores occasionally, you should look for those things because they can be expensive. And there was a company that made the 3DO because that's actually more rare, but I can't remember the details on that, so I don't want to tell you. Jeff Potts always wanted an Intellivision. Yeah, the joysticks suck. That's what I hear. Like they have these emulation consoles that they put out now. And I don't know if there's one for the 2600, but if there was, I'd get one. Then there was the Coleco. What about the Odyssey, man? Yeah, see, my first video game console was a Nintendo Entertainment System. I still remember, really my first vivid memory of playing a video game was Battletoads for the Nintendo Entertainment System. So those that first generation of video games, from I would consider that first to the video game systems like the Odyssey to the Crash. Not as familiar with. What I need to get is an Atari Jaguar. That's what I need. NES with the Zapper and the Power Pad. I have a Zapper, and I have a CRT television, so you can play Duck Hunt on it. But it's fun. It's a fun game. But peripherals. One of the most hilarious things I've ever seen was like QVC or the Shopping Network or something. They were selling the Wii with a bunch of these worthless plastic add-ons that you put onto the end of your Wiimote. And the guy's like playing tennis. He's playing like, Wii Sports. And he goes up to serve it, and the plastic piece of crap comes off the end of the Wiimote and crashes into the TV and cracks it. It's like, yeah, that's really selling. It's really selling us on this thing when you broke your television right when you're trying to sell it. Oh, that's up there with like, this is a horse. Look at this. Look at the detail on this horse's mane. Already existed ages ago with the Power Pad. True. Actually, you can get a Raspberry Pi, set it up, and emulate all those 2600 games. Yeah, but I want to play the physical media of it. Like an emulation console that emulates the console is what I want. And then it has an interface where I can play the game that I actually possess. Because I can just emulate it download it all onto my computer and play it with this crappy Mad Catz controller. I don't need to get a Raspberry Pi to do it. I can do it on my PC. The point is I want to play actual physical media of it, which maybe is stupid and obsolete and thinking of a Luddite. But we have to hope that these companies think it is financially good for them to keep these games available, or we have to back them up ourselves or resort to piracy in order to preserve them. Like, I look over at these movies, and there's movies here that I have over here that you can't get digitally. You can't purchase them. You can only have them on a physical media. They're not available on streaming. And as soon as Disney thinks, well, why are we offering these movies for sale on Amazon Prime? Or someone can come watch them on streaming, and they think, let's take them off Amazon Video, selling them on Amazon, and let's just put them on our streaming service, or they can be purchased digitally from us, which I don't think they're going to do, but hypothetically they could. And then that's the only way you can get it. And then you got to hope it's not offensive, because Disney will brand anything offensive. Don't forget that Disney recently changed Disney Plus to put a disclaimer before Timon and Pumbaa, the beloved children's cartoon, saying that it contained offensive things, and they want to start a discussion about Timon and Pumbaa. So as soon as it goes beyond a discussion and they start getting threats of like, we're going to cancel you because you even have this on here. It's offensive to even have it on here. We can't have a discussion about Timon and Pumbaa. It's inherently racist. Timon and Pumbaa's evil. Then it's going to go away. And also that's not available on DVD. Same with Recess, not available on DVD. You have to hope that nothing in there is offensive. Aladdin, the Aladdin animated show, not on DVD. What else? The Winnie the Pooh TV show, not on DVD. That one pisses me off because that show is fantastic. Has some of the best animation, the television animation that I think has ever been done. The Winnie the Pooh animated series, late 80s, early 90s era there. Oh man, it's gorgeous. If you have Disney Plus, go on there and watch a couple episodes of that. It is gorgeous. In some ways, it is better than some of the actual got a theater release movies that Disney has done over the years, and definitely better than a lot of the straight to video stuff. Mark Antony says, I don't like Timon and Pumbaa. Timon or Pumbaa. Yeah, that's fine, but I didn't even watch the show. I don't even remember it being on all that much. I watched it occasionally every once in a while, but my point is made, I think. For roughly $150, you can build a whole arcade system with the Raspberry Pi, and you're roughly 70% of the way to the physical experience with better joysticks. Yeah, but I already have a PC, man. I already have a PC. What I'd like to get is an actual arcade cabinet where I can switch out arcade boards if I had enough space in my house, right? Hot take. Hakuna Matata. Here's the hot take. Hakuna Matata kind of annoys me. Ain't no passing craze. Hakuna Matata. Right? Hakuna Matata. Hakuna Matata. It's a good one. It's all right. I think there's better songs on that, but it's definitely better than the Zazu song they cut. If you ever heard that, it's terrible. It's like Morning Report or something. It's terrible. And it's definitely better than Beyonce singing anything from it. Which I'm sure Mark loves. Because he loves music. So, of course, he loves Beyonce, I'm sure. Not a fan, personally. Lion King, man. One of the first movies I remember seeing in the theater. But, like, I don't know what movies I saw in the theater prior to that. I know I did, though, because I had seen enough movies with both just my mom or just my dad, or both of them together, to know that if it was mom that was there, we were going to get popcorn and treats and soda. And if my dad was taking us, there was absolutely zero chance that we would get any of that stuff if my dad was taking us. So, no thank you to Beyonce. Mark, you're the greatest. And so my dad took us to see The Lion King, and I knew, we're not getting any popcorn today. So I know I saw lots of movies before that, but I couldn't tell you what they were. So it's one of the first movies I remember, like, I can point to it and say, I saw that in the theater. Mark Andy says, I didn't like that one. The new one, didn't even see it. From the Broadway soundtrack. Yeah, it was originally cut from, that Morning Report was originally cut from the movie. It was written for it originally. Didn't like that one. Hate that they cut Shadowland. I did not see the new movie, man. What's hilarious to me is they called this a live action remake. There was nothing live action about it. It was all 100% digitally created. It was a CGI remake of a movie that already existed. It was a CGI animated film that they'd already put out. Oh, it's photorealistic. That's stupid. Dumb. I'm tired. I made a video a long time ago about how they need to stop making these remakes, and they're all terrible and they suck. The only remake that I think was even halfway decent was the Cinderella one they did, because it's just the story of Cinderella. They don't have Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo. What's another song from? They don't say Cinderella, Cinderella. Wash the dishes. Do the ba ba bee boo ba. I don't know how it goes. What's another song?
The dream is a wish your heart made.
Yeah. Anyways, the point is they didn't just remake them with the same songs and a shot for shot remake or a scene for scene remake. It was just a Cinderella story. It's the same reason why Ever After is, I think, a fun Cinderella story. I'll watch that, or another Cinderella story, because it's the story I like. It's not just that Disney made it. So I think that one works. I've never seen Maleficent. I love Sleeping Beauty. It's my, other than The Lion King, it's my favorite Disney film. It's gorgeous. The animation is beautiful. The design by Ivan Earl, the backgrounds. Oh man, it's so gorgeous. Absolutely amazing. And so the idea of making Maleficent good and like she's the hero and like, I'm not interested. I just wasn't interested. But then I saw Beauty and the Beast, which Mark Antony loves. He says, I loved that live action Beauty and the Beast. He says, I despised it. Yeah, we did too. Here was when I realized, so we watched it and there was people that said it was okay. What's that?
I said Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah. And Beauty and the Beast is Lady,
that one.
is nice. The original is Lady Vixen's favorite Disney film. I didn't see it until I was an adult, so for me, it's not. I recognize its value, but that it is really good, but it's not. It doesn't hold any special place in my heart. And you say, well, you didn't see that when you were a kid? No, I didn't. I didn't see a lot of the Disney films when I was a kid, for various reasons. So we watched that, and there's the Be Our Guest scene, and you watch Be Our Guest in an animated form, and they are able to, there's so much magic there. You believe that this is a talking candlestick. There was once a man, and this spotlight comes down, and you're wrapped up in this song and you believe it, and it's so wonderful, the magic of this animation, and it's completely lost in that live action because you're trying to make it more realistic, but then you bring in these fantastical elements and it just doesn't work. It's so off, and the beast looked terrible, and the singing was awful. Oh, it was so bad. It's so bad. There's nothing redeemable about it. This because it has so much digital manipulation in it, 3D overlays of things and manipulating it and all this stuff, it just looks bad. It really does. The acting is bad. Emma Watson is a terrible singer. We could go on and on and on. But that live action Beauty and the Beast, after seeing that, like I'd seen the Jungle Book one, and I was like, that was kind of boring and unnecessary. Didn't Disney already remake a live action Jungle Book in the 90s? By the way, yes, they did. It's action oriented. It's okay. It's like, I was like, all right, yeah, that was inoffensively made, I guess, this new Jungle Book. And then I saw Beauty and the Beast, and I was like, I'm done. Never again. Never again will I watch this. The music was horrendous, Mark. We're all very aware of that. It's absolutely terrible. And I was just done. I'm not gonna watch these. I'm not gonna support these in the theater. I'm not gonna watch them on streaming. I'm not going to rent them from Redbox. Nothing. I will never watch another one in my lifetime. And so I was completely done at that point. So I haven't seen Aladdin. I didn't waste my time on The Lion King. I don't need that crap in my life. Mark Antony says, yuck, Maleficent live action. Stop trying to make the villains redeemable. Gah! Jeff Potts, Maleficent equals rage against the patriarchy. Yeah, because a woman can't be just inherently bad. I didn't even know. I don't even know anymore. My. The music was atrocious. A coworker and I sat in the front row, Beauty and the Beast, and we spent the entire runtime critiquing every little aspect of it. Good for you, Mark. Tickets were free, though. I saw the Anastasia movie for free. There was some sort of promotion or something for that. Live action Lilo and Stitch. Oh, jeez. Just stop. Just stop. Just stop. It's like, did anyone go and see a remake of Pete's Dragon? Are you kidding me? Pete's Dragon? Like, I'm not a fan. Lady Vixen likes Pete's Dragon. It's okay if you like Pete's Dragon. It's all right. I don't particularly think it's that entertaining. But I would rather watch the original Pete's Dragon than any of these remakes. Just stop. Just stop. I mean, we had the 101 Dalmatians remake in the 90s. And that story, it sort of lends itself to adapting that source material, right? Adapting the story. It lends itself to that. I'm not saying a company can't take the original source material and tell a new telling of something. Robin Hood is a good example of, it's been done by different people and it's been done well. Like the Disney Robin Hood is fun, and the one with Errol Flynn is fun, and Robin Hood Prince of Thieves is fun in its terrible way. You can retell same stories using the same source materials, but when it's a scene for scene remake, the same songs, the same things, and it pales in comparison to the original. That's the thing about 101 Dalmatians. You say it was actually decent. Yeah, because it's an adaptation of the source material. It's an adaptation of this story. And it's not just essentially a remake of it to the exact nature. It's not the aspect of the remake I'm after. It's that I'm against in the case of these Disney remakes. It's that you're making the same movies over and again, and you're not adding anything. You're making the same movie, or you're detracting from it, or it's like, oh, Maleficent was actually good. She's actually redeemable. Okay. She was cool because she was like totally evil. Just like cursing a little girl because she got she didn't get invited to her birthday. Aladdin with Will Smith as the genie. What a great idea. I watched a video that was talking about what the music in these and why they're so bad. Oh, they're already doing that, Mark. From what I understood, I thought they were remaking it, and they cast a pretty young redheaded girl to play Ariel. Oh wait, no, she was black. Never mind. Can't have a redhead in a movie. Can't have a redhead. They got to be recast as a black person every time. There's nothing wrong with black people, Mark. What I'm saying is, why are we recasting people? All the redheads, got to get rid of them from the face of the world. That minority group of people in the world. Aladdin with Will Smith. And one of the things they pointed out was that the movie Aladdin essentially is built around Robin Williams. His mannerisms, his comedy, all of these things are built into the music. Even the music is based around that. And you can't just replace him with a hip-hop artist who hasn't made an album in a really long time. As much as I think Will Smith is an okay actor in things like Hitch or Men in Black, not in any dramatic role, but it's silly to remake it and have the same songs. As you can, why not tell an adventurous Aladdin story? Because that's not what they're trying to do. They want to sell the music. They want to sell toys based on it. They want to do this. They want to do that. They want to license everything. Sometimes he's a good actor. I know I'm being hyperbolic for the sake of entertainment value. It's not about making a good product first. That's the issue. I'm not opposed to making lots of money with art. I'm not opposed to making money with art, even if it's a little bit of money. In fact, I encourage it. But when the primary focus is not making a good piece of artwork, it's not about making a good Aladdin story, where you look at it and say, hey, why not, we can make a new Aladdin movie, not have to base it around this. Well, and then, it's got to be woke because the first movie is about the princess having to get married. So we can't have that. We can't have a woman having to get married in a movie. So we got to change that. We got to take that out of there. Oh, the thing that we got to edit these songs, these Academy Award winning scores from people that are no longer with us, that they wrote the lyrics to. We got to change those because they're not politically correct. Where it says that they'll cut off your hand. We can't have that. Got to re-record that. Change that on the DVD. Burn all the VHS copies of that exist. Mark Antony, sometimes, speaking of Will Smith here, he's just awful. Forget that movie he and his son were in, Crash Landed on Earth, Beyond Earth, something like that. In the distant future, son had to fight some aliens. Never saw it. He's bad. Will Smith has worked hard to be a competent action actor. He was good in Pursuit of Happiness. I thought he was decent in that. But a lot of these more like Hancock, that's a terrible movie. But there's a lot of movies where it's just like, ooh, you're clearly acting. I'm not getting lost in the role. I'm not getting swept up in the dramatic tale you're telling me because all I see is you acting. Clearly you're acting. You're not the character. You're Will Smith acting. Okay, I got it. Mark Antony, Dumbo, elephants getting drunk. Can't have that. The Crows, can't have them either. Want to hear my rant about the Crows? Eventually, and I have videos on here where I was doing a series of where I was going through the Disney movies. And it's harder than you'd expect to talk about these because I want to say something compelling about them. I don't want to just, I like Disney. Here's what happens in Dumbo. Here's what happens in this movie. Ha ha ha. I'm not the nostalgia critic here. I'm just going to make fun of inconsistencies in film or force jokes. I want to have something compelling to say about these narratives. But Dumbo. The crows are the smartest, most capable characters in the movie. They're the heroes. They inspire Dumbo. They're smart. They're capable. They're world-wise. No one watched that and thought, black people are dumb. Why are we equating the crows with black people in the first place? They're animals. Oh, but they're playing on the stereotypes of this type of entertainment that was primarily black people. And they're white guys doing black voices. White guys doing black voices? I listened to something the other day, and it was a black man speaking, and he sounded sort of white. And so I played and said, I said, Lady Vixen. I said, Lady Vixen. What color is this man's skin? What does he look like? Or I said, I think describe what this person looks like to me. She said, looks like this. She didn't say black. Why? Because people don't just have one universal voice or way of talking. And as if that's inherently offensive. That's the best song in the movie. In Dumbo. It's the best part in Dumbo. Where does he get the damn feather in the remake? Anybody know? Anybody actually watch that crap? Where'd he get the feather? When I see an elephant fly. It's the best part of the movie. You're gutting it. And I think I wrote or started to, but I had I was trying to make a case. I was thinking about what I would say about Dumbo, that they actually gutted the entire theme and moral of the film based on taking out the crows. Yeah, he got that from the crows. But did he get it from the crows in the remake? I don't know. I haven't seen it. Don't have any intention to. What's the baby song? How's the baby one go? Baby Mine? Baby Mine. That's a good one. I like the Roustabout song's also really good. Baby Mine is probably the best song there. Yeah. I like Roustabout in the original. Sure. Roustabout is good. The songs in it are great. Casey Jr. Dumbo's got some really great music. If you think about Dumbo, it's really interesting because it's basically vignettes. There's not a strong narrative through line. A lot of those early Disney films are vignettes put together. That one's the worst offender. Where basically, it really is just. It's very short, by the way. It's a very short movie for a feature-length animated film. But it's basically like shorts put together, mashed together with the same characters, so that it has a story. But it works. It works well enough for what it is. Pink Elephants on Parade. That was a trip. Indeed it was. Even as a kid, I was like, man, they're on something here. But also, it reminds me of like Heffalumps and Woozles. I always thought they were very similar. Heffalumps and Woozles and then Pink Elephants on Parade because they're very like surreal images. The worst thing about Disney Plus, I complain about Disney Plus a lot because it's total crap. Disney is, for being this huge, dominant media corporation that has, in the last 40 years, absolutely taken over the industry, gone from nearly being bought out by another company and having to survive corporate raiders to being the biggest media conglomerate in the world. It's a pretty impressive feat. But for being the biggest media conglomerate in the world, they're terrible at their live streaming. You launched your live streaming service with barely any shows in the can that people actually might want to watch. And then COVID hit, and then you got absolutely boned because you had nothing in the can. What, I was supposed to watch the remake of Lady and the Tramp? You're going to try to sell me Mulan for $30? I already got your streaming service. What are you I'm going to pay extra $30 to see it on my TV? Are you high? And then the worst offender of all, the thing that bothers me the most about Disney Plus, is they don't have Donald Duck in Math Magic Land. That is the single best Disney short ever made. It is. I would watch that thing. I'd love to watch that. I'd love to be able to just turn Disney Plus, pop that on for my little boy, have him watch Donald Duck in Math Magic Land. But it's not on there. It's not on there. Where is it? Where is Donald Duck in Math Magic Land? Why is it not on Disney Plus? Where is it, man? Why do I have 2 shelves of Disney stuff over here? Why, when I see a cheap Disney film that I otherwise don't have any interest in all that much, it's not something I watched as a kid, do I buy it? Because I don't want to be beholden to Disney for the rest of my life in order to watch these films. I'm going to buy it used. Not giving you that money. A lot of these movies aren't on there. Maybe they will be someday. Maybe they'll expand that someday. But some of them are offensive, right? Was it Matthew was telling me, I think, that somebody was telling me that in front of a movie called The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, there's a trigger warning. How long are those things going to last when it's not politically expedient? Yeah, they'll trickle them out. I'm not completely convinced of that. I don't. Eventually, maybe, but they'll look at it and they'll say, okay, we're paying for this movie to be available for people to stream. It costs us money. Maybe it's pennies, right? But nobody's watching. Let's see what something nobody would watch. The one and only genuine original family band. Nobody's watching the one and only genuine original family band. So, 2 people are watching it every month. Not worth having on there. Boop, it's gone. What's something else no one watches? It's not on there. I'm sure there's other stuff I'm not. The point is, they have this huge back catalog of films. Some films that people haven't been able to watch. They never got released on VHS. They never got released on DVD. People want to watch these things. They're not available. You can't buy them anywhere. You can't see them. Where are they? Where'd they go? Do you know where the one thing is, Lady Vixen?
No.
You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. Sorry.
The one thing they'll never put on there?
Oh. No, I don't.
Oh, here it is. And of course, they'll never put this on there. As a bootleg copy, I found it at Goodwill. They'll never put this on there. The one thing to rule them all. Exactly. Oh, man. The most offensive thing ever created. This innocent little film about white children being friends with a black man, with an elderly black man. A man who was given an honorary Academy Award for this role and accepted it, by the way. Who felt proud to have been in something like this, I'm sure, no doubt. Was proud to be in it. It's just an innocent little. It's offensive somehow. Oh, it's not talking about the realities of slavery. It's not acknowledging that these people were owned by the people. It's like, oh my God, give me a break. Give me a break. Not everything needs to be 12 years a slave. Mark Anthony says, I actually haven't seen that. It's okay. It's not like some masterpiece that they're hiding from the world. If you are a thin-skinned individual who can't look at something and understand yes, slavery existed, and there was all these terrible things that happened, but this is not about that. It's about after slavery, and these kids are being friends with a black man. Like, is that wrong? Like, what's the harm in that? Oh, it's not being real about slavery. Okay, so what? Make a movie about slavery that's appropriate for kids then. Like, you want to talk about racism, give them Roll of Thunder, Hear My Cry. But can't we have this too? Mark Antony, I'm offended that people are trying to be offended on my behalf when I really don't care. I think it's insane, man. It's insane. It's not like this movie is saying, slavery was good. An American Tail, that's going to be canceled. I don't know why, but it's going to be canceled. The point is, like you said earlier, Mark, they'll censor them. Yeah, after they censor them all, of course. There's things on there that contain offensive, outdated cultural depictions. You'll see this movie may contains outdated cultural depictions, but you know what you don't see that on? As Darby O'Gill and the Little People. It's okay if it's an acceptable thing. It's an outdated cultural depiction of an Irish drunk Irishman. That's okay. That one's not going to get a trigger warning because it doesn't say, it doesn't have some crows in it. It doesn't have some people in some tiki masks. So that one's all right. Yeah, Don. Yeah, okay, yeah. An example of atrocity without, Little People. That's the most offensive part of that. Whoo, Little People. Why weren't dwarves given those roles? Why did they use forced perspective? That's offensive to people who are vertically challenged. Is that the appropriate thing to use now? Uh-oh. I'm canceled for sure. Yeah, I think is this movie realistic? That's what they're saying. They're saying this movie is not realistic to what the South was like after slavery. But the reality is many of these people had nowhere to go. Many of them did stay around the plantations where they worked. And many of them became sharecroppers in those same areas. Is that realistic? It's about an old man who sings with cartoons that land on his shoulder. What is hilarious to me is that they have this, one of the greatest songs they've ever made, Zippity Doo Dah. You may have heard Lady Vixen singing it in the background. They can't actually tell you what it's from. And they'll stop using it as soon as it becomes, the clamor against it becomes too high. We've got to get rid of Splash Mountain, even though all it had was the Brer Rabbit things. Oh, you can't have that. No, it's got a tar baby in it. Can't have that. Like Mike. You're funny, Mark. Oh, jeez. One of the things that gets me is the University of Illinois. Their mascot used to be the Fighting Illini for their sports ball teams. The Fighting Illini. They had to change that to just the Illini because fighting, that's bad. But you never heard any Irishmen getting mad about the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame. One of the most hilarious things to me was the woke people. They came after the Seminoles, Florida State Seminoles. They're like, oh, this is offensive. You're depicting a Seminole, and he rides into the game, the football field, and he throws a spear into the ground. Oh, it's offensive. And the Seminole tribe was like, hey, man, we have a really good relationship with Florida State. And we totally approve of their representing, of this being representative of the history of Florida and our people's history here in Florida. And we 100% endorse the Seminole being the mascot of Florida State sports teams. Why don't you go away? Fighting, that glorifies violence. Yeah. Goodbye, Washington Redskins. As a person with probably as much Native American ancestry as Elizabeth Warren, I will say on my 164th Native American, I prefer American Indian as the term. I will say that I'm not offended by the term Redskin being used for that football team. I'm more offended by the Washington football team. By the way, Washington, that's offensive too, right? Because he didn't, kind of, one of those evil founders of the country. So, what do we call him? Oh, that Cleveland Indians mascot, he's got red skin. Oh, another offensive one. Oh, here's an offensive one, guys. Why is the red man red? Oh, man. How do they live that one down? Now, there are some woke American Indians out there that I'm sure are offended by it. But I think the ones that I have known, the guy I played football with, he never once said, the Redskins, Washington Redskins offends me. And my 164th American Indian, not offended by it. Yeah, what makes the red man red? Or why is the red man red? How does it go? You know what I'm talking about. Is that what we're seriously offended by? That's what we think is worth our time. Yeah, I like to just say it as a joke, but yes, the genealogical research that my father has done, just in his pastime, not for any other reason other than that he enjoys it, has said that there is. I haven't had I have to go get a genetic test like Elizabeth Warren to be to try to justify it because I don't care. What is somebody, what am I? I'm trying to get some sort of benefit from it. Who cares? I recognize it just as much as I recognize that I'm part Irish, part German, and so I don't get offended about Irish or German stereotypes either. Or English stereotypes, or Scottish stereotypes, or Swiss stereotypes. What's a Swiss stereotype? I don't even know. But I don't get offended about those things because it's just silliness. It's funny. It's poking fun at a stereotype or making fun of the way somebody talks because it's inherently funny. It sounds comical. Silliness. Absolute silliness. Meanwhile, China is buddy with Disney. That the same China that persecutes Christians and ships Muslims off to concentration camps and forces sterilization on them in order to wipe them out. Disney's fine with that. But you can't watch Song of the South. The extinction of the Uyghur Muslims, that's okay. That's all right. China, no big deal. an evil dictator named Xi Jinping. It's okay. We can coddle. We'll just play nice with them because we want their filthy money. We want those Chinese dollars. But over here in America, we got to put a disclaimer in front of Timon and Pumbaa. We were watching a film yesterday. We didn't finish it. We should. Called Remember the Night. Lady Fixin'? Remember the Night with Barbara Stanwyck and what's his name? Fred McMurray. His name, right? Fred? Yeah, Fred McMurray. I don't know why I doubted myself. Chinese dollars, isn't that just a pack of Uncle Ben's? Video James out of nowhere. Anime's offensive too. That's right, Mark. Mr. Popo from Dragon Ball was considered offensive for a hot minute. Right, so there's a servant that works for this guy, and it's a black man who's playing a caricature of this guy, and it's like, is this movie offensive? I don't know. I'm not a black man, so when I watch a movie from back then, I don't look at this and be like, oh, I'm offended by this because I'm not black. But when I watch something about a caricature of an Irishman, I have red hair, and when people look at me, they see Ireland. And I see a drunken Irishman or some stupid Irishman or some sort of caricature from back then about an Irish person. Do I just think that I'm being discriminated against? Oh, no, because you're not an oppressed minority. You don't have enough oppression points to really, for it to matter. And so then it becomes all these standards, these varying standards for people based on how much, if they're where they are at in the oppression standings. Okay. I grant there might be something offensive about it. But you got to make an objective, compelling case for it. It's like if you've ever listened to or watched anything with Jack Benny, and he has a sidekick named Rochester, who was a black man. And he'll often speak in a caricatured way, but he gets a lot of jokes in. He's hilarious. He's got this crazy, interesting voice. And yet there are characters. He's just, manservant of Jack Benny. And he works for Mr. Benny and calls him Mr. Benny all the time. And yet Mr. Benny always calls him Rochester. He calls him Mr. Rochester or something, right? Oh, that might be offensive. But he's treated as a person, as an individual who often, Jack Benny is the butt of the joke. And Rochester is the one dishing out the insult. But yet it might be considered offensive by idiots. I don't know. What's sad is that when YouTube first started taking off and there was this freedom of distribution, there was this idea that it gave people this new amount of freedom that they could tell the stories that they wanted to tell. But there are no popular YouTube channels that are a dramatic series, right? Like nobody made a big YouTube television series and really profited off of it. What, like Rocket Jump? They made funny videos about video games and stuff, and that was about it. Mark Anthony, Atlas shrugged, and so do I. Well, good to know that there are some people out there that are not crazy, you know. But there was this idea that YouTube would offer this amazing amount of freedom, and all we've gotten out of it is reaction videos and live streams with people complaining about Disney. So I'm to blame partly for this. But there was this idea. I remember somebody posted a video of Francis Ford Coppola talking about how he hoped someday some little fat girl from nowhere, Nebraska, I don't remember exactly the words he used, but this is the gist of it, would make a film with a little film camera and that it would change the world. But that was his hope, that like the film industry would be destroyed and these little art films could be super impactful, made by just some rando. And I remember this getting shared when YouTube was new. People were like, oh, look at him, he predicted YouTube, but nothing ever came of it. These big media corporations, they're like, hey, there's money to be made over there. Well, let's go get YouTube to put all our stuff on there and to promote it and trending, even though there's videos that are actually trending. What else is offensive over there? I'm sure there's tons of stuff that's offensive. I have gone with the wind over there. That's offensive. What else is offensive? The Searchers, that's probably offensive. Probably a lot of those Westerns are offensive. Oh, I don't even know. Who can say what's offensive now? In a few years, they're going to be saying things are offensive because they only have cisgendered people in them. Oh, we can't have this. It's only about cisgenders. Yeah, Gone with the Wind is no bueno. No bueno. Probably the most offensive thing I have over there is Final Fantasy's The Spirit Within, because it's not even a real Final Fantasy movie. I'm joking. I've never even actually watched it. I do own it. It's over there, but I haven't watched it yet. Most offensive thing. A lot of these comedies and stuff over here, offensive. Contain offensive jokes. Gotta cancel them. Oh, it's like when there were literally people trying to cancel Blazing Saddles, which mocks racist ideas. What do you think about that, Lady Vixen? It's like you can't even... This is a satire. This is a farce. And it's getting canceled. The Spear Within? No, Spirits. Did I just say spear? I meant spirits. Yeah, a lot of offensive stuff over there. Mark Antony says, just take a Sharpie, cross out the Final Fantasy, and the movie is passable, although barely. Yeah. Oh, so many offensive things over there. I'm going to get canceled just for what's on my shelf. Blazing Saddles is such a great film, Video Jam says. Yeah, it's all right. I like Young Frankenstein better. Where did we put that stuff? We organized all this, and I don't remember how I... Probably up there on that shelf. All Westerns are offensive. Mansplaining everywhere. Toxic masculinity everywhere. Rugged men saving women from dangerous men. Offensive. Absolutely inherently offensive. Sexist, racist, everything you could possibly think of. They're just trying to demonstrate their patriarchy and the dominion and domination they wanted to do of the natural world. Offensive. True Grit, offensive. The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, offensive, glorifying violence. It's about a man who shot somebody. 7 Brides for 7 Brothers, offensive. Offensive. But fantastic, true. I love some of the songs in that. And the dance sequences, fantastic. And now to rattle off the list of Westerns with strong female leads. Cat Ballou. It's not very good, by the way. Cat Ballou's kind of lame. But Lee Marvin won the Academy Award for that. I don't know. I can't think of any more. It just doesn't work, man. It just doesn't work. Same reason nobody wants to watch the WNBA. Nobody wants to watch a Western about a woman. Marketed coming soon. Westerns got canceled a long time ago. You can't have a traditional Western as we know them in our mythology. You can't have that. Not allowed. It has to be some sort of revisionist Western, or like it's got to be like dark and gritty. It can't be either true to how it would have been or like they used to make Westerns. That's just offensive and silly. Yeah, Pirates of the Caribbean. Can't have all those male leads. Oh, heaven forbid we watch an action movie with a man. Am I to believe? Let's take Captain Marvel, that movie that Disney put out. Marvel and Disney put out with that fantastic actress who's Brie Larson. Is that her name? Let's take Brie Larson and put her in another action film that's based on original property and see how much money it makes. Let's dump Johnny Depp for his husband beating wife. Allegedly. His wife who videotaped him drunk. In order to use it against him, not because she genuinely cared about his well-being as an alcoholic who is heavily intoxicated, continuing to drink, and she's taping it for her own personal gain, not because she cares about the man. Allegedly. We need a Duke Nukem movie. Ah, man, they'll just woke it. Video James. Johnny Guitar. My favorite Western is actually called Angel and the Bad Man. It is the first movie that John Wayne John Wayne's production company produced. He stars in it, along with Gail Russell. Harry Carey is in it as well. And it is fantastic. The ending moral theme, I think, that they try to tie up in it is silly, and ultimately is undermined by the ending climax of the film. But that's still great. Top Gun, so offensive. The most offensive thing about that is that it had the Taiwanese flag on his flight jacket, and we want to sell that in China, so we got to take that Taiwanese flag off there. You can't have that Taiwanese flag on there. Yes, I know there are allies. I know that we try to save them from the Chinese. I know that's the whole point of having it, the character having it on there. But you got to take that Taiwanese flag off there. That's offensive. Let's see. Some big jerk says, a bit high noon, but good. What do you mean by that? A bit high noon. I guess in the sense that he like throws his star down in high noon. Is that what you're talking about? I guess I could see some similarities. I think they're total thematically, the reasons why they're giving up that lifestyle are totally different. One is about cowardice, the cowardice of people not standing by one another. In the case of High Noon, not being willing to make the sacrifices that the other person is willing to make, but expecting them to still be there for you, and ultimately that person just moving on. But Angel and the Bad Man, even though it has a similar outcome, the reasons why are different. One is really in the case of Angel and the Bad Man, I would say that's more of a story about regeneration, a story about salvation in a sense. Here's a man that's not abandoning this town that was turning his back on him, but willing to die because of newfound principles. And thus the same result comes about, that he leaves with a Quaker wife. But I think they're very different in the reasons why they do it. What would an anti-woke film look like? Any film made before 1989. Possibly before 1981. Not to say that there weren't anti-woke movies after that. But I think there are similar plot elements to them, but I wouldn't say they have similar themes. Because, yeah, I wouldn't say... I'd say they have similar plot elements in them. Leaving with a Quaker wife, essentially, is the end of it. And that is the same, or similar. But... yeah, very different reasons for doing so. But I do see the similarities now that you point them out. High Noon's also up there. Which High Noon is good. But it's not my favorite. A lot of people say Shane is the best. Shane is lame. Not a fan of Shane. Shane! Come back, Shane! The Searchers is really great. If you haven't seen The Searchers, that's John Ford's probably his best film. It's not a perfect film. There's some comedy elements in it that are kind of out of place, but I don't think they detract from it at all overall. But it's a very serious film, very gorgeously shot, and dark and serious. Westerns, man. They haven't made a great Western in a long time. It's hard to think of what the last great Western is. Well, I'll take it back. The Coen brothers make great Western films. Best Western is a hotel chain. LOL. The Coen brothers make great Western films, but other than them, I don't think there's been one made in a very long time. And some people might say Unforgiven. Meh. Not a fan of these super dark and gritty ones. But True Grit, a gritty one instead of a dark and gritty one. Just a true gritty one. As long as the Coen brothers are making it, I'm on board. If you haven't seen The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, streaming now on Netflix, I'd recommend that. That is a good, there's some good Western stories being told there. Video James says, if we purposely went out of the way to make something with a great story, but in your face anti-woke, it'd be hilarious. I suppose. Are you going to write it, Video James? Somebody jerk, yeah, there have been a handful in the last 30 years, but man, the 40s and 50s cranked out so many great Westerns. Yeah, basically from, even for the sound era, the Big Trail to, the 60s. There's some great Westerns being made. But you kind of see it at the end of it, like the voix, the filmography of John Ford. You have something like Cheyenne Autumn, which is supposed to be a more serious take on some of the tragedies of dealing with Indians by the end of his movies, and it's just not as good. It's just not as good a film as his other movies. It's just not entertaining to watch as Stagecoach or The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance or The Searchers or Three Godfathers, or what else is up there? My Darling Clementine, or I do have Shane. The Comanche. No, he didn't make the Comanche. She wore a yellow ribbon. Oh, you know what? My best, the best Western, the greatest, not a hotel chain. The greatest Westerns ever made is actually set in Australia, and it's not Quigley Down Under, although that is entertaining. It's called The Man from Snowy River. Fantastic. Oh, it's so good. If you guys haven't seen that, absolutely need to seek that out. Absolutely gorgeous cinematography, fantastic acting, great music. Oh, what in the world? What is this? That is sad. So, if you don't know, might as well take this hat off in disgrace. The Arizona Wildcats. I'm from Tucson, Arizona originally. That's my sports ball team. God, oh my God. My brother just texted me. The final score of today's Territorial Cup, the rivalry game between Arizona and Arizona State. My team, Arizona Wildcats, lost 70-7. Meanwhile, we fired the winningest coach we'd had in a long time, 2 decades, for no reason. Basically woke reasons, and hired somebody who is clearly terrible. And that's all I'll say about it. God. Arizona sports in general are notorious for being choke artists. Like they choke whenever it comes to, especially, how long can you keep up this charade that Arizona Wildcats are ever going to be good at football again? They'll get to this part where they're at a bowl game, the next year they're absolute garbage, and then they fire their winning coach, Rich Rodriguez, and hire Kevin Sumlin, and clearly he's garbage at coaching. He took a winning program and has run it into the ground. Welcome back, John Makovic. I'm done. That's it. That's my sports ball rant. Oh my! It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Meanwhile, the basketball team, who is one of the most winningest programs in history of basketball, has one national championship and hasn't been in a Final Four since 2001. So, yeah, Arizona sports, they'll be good for about half a second, and then they just fall to pieces and give you absolute misery. Meanwhile, the Arizona Wildcats softball team continues to be good, so at least there's that. I actually don't know if they're good. They used to be like fantastic. I don't know if that they still are. It's a good thing I don't watch sports ball anymore because it still crushes me. I even have access to it on the television now on Hulu. I could watch these sports ball games, but I don't. Like, I knew it was on today, and I was like, oh, maybe I should watch it. Nah. Okay, what were we talking about? The greatest westerns of all time? Oh, The Man from Snowy River. I cannot praise this film enough. Fantastic music, fantastic acting, gorgeous cinematography. Really, really entertaining. A really compelling performance from a great Hollywood icon, Kirk Douglas. These Australian actors you've never seen in anything. Maybe if our good friend Video James gets Australian TV, he might have seen some of these people. If that goes over to Kiwi land, I don't know the crossover there. Maybe I'm just stereotyping them because they're generally close in proximity, at least closer than we are to them. Are they to each other? But a fantastic movie. Cannot recommend it enough. Yeah, Snowy River has a really bad sequel. Don't waste your time on the sequel. It was made by Disney, laughably. It has Brian Dennehy, a stolen valor liar about his military service, instead of Kirk Douglas, who in real life only has one leg, and uses that in the role that he plays. But it's fantastic. So many quotable lines of dialogue. There's amazing scenes of harrowing masculinity, not toxic masculinity, but true masculinity. It's fantastic. My favorite piece of music of all time is in it, played by somebody to accentuate a moment of romance, which is Fair Elise by Beethoven. It is used to, I think, great effect in order to punctuate a scene of true romantic love between two characters, or at least romantic interest blossoming between two characters, a man and a woman. Video James says, haha, we can't get Australian TV if we buy cable. Not worth it, I'm guessing. But at least they made The Lord of the Rings in your country. And they made like Xena and Hercules. Fake news, Kirk Douglas didn't have a fake leg. He absolutely did have a fake leg. You can see him, he wears a peg leg to like an episode of Johnny Carson. You can look it up on YouTube, man. Come on. I think he lost like a motorcycle accident or something. I don't remember if that's exactly what happened, but I think so. Fake news, his name wasn't originally Kirk Douglas. It's like Kirkinski Pupalowski or something. Let's see. Let's see what it actually was. Isur Danielovich. So not as dramatic as I made it out to be, but it's definitely not Kirk Douglas. It's Isur Danielovich. But so like Jack Palance is another guy that had like a Russian name. Volodymyr Palahuniuk. I can't even, it's Ukrainian. I'm sorry, I'm butchering it. Video James says they're actually just a bunch of hobbits over there. I believe it. I remember watching The Return to Snowy River one time when I was a kid, and Brian Dennehy appears on screen, and I'm like, that's not Kirk Douglas. Stop telling lies, some big jerk. Mark, I thought there were elves, wizards, and necromancers over there too. Oh, good point. Orcs as well, I would imagine. So what would you say is game of the year, FlyFoxPro? I do not. Here's the deal. Here's the deal about video games. I don't think the only video game I've played that's new this year, that came out this year, is a game that hasn't technically been released yet, which is Baldur's Gate 3. No other game I've played this year came out this year. So if we want to say what's the game of the year, that I've only played one that sort of came out this year, and that is Baldur's Gate 3. So I would say Baldur's Gate 3, but it's not even actually released. It's just the beta. So can you really say that? My problem with we already had my video game awards rants, which is that how do you judge such a thing as the game of the year, the movie, the best picture of the year? Dumb. These games are so expensive, and there's so many games coming out. How can a person who isn't a critic getting free keys, free downloads from people, from the companies, how can they afford to play all these games? I mean, I know people, they're playing every big game that comes out. And I'm like, that's what you're spending your money on? How do you afford $60 multiple times a month? Back in the day, they used to trade them into GameStop, but now they're buying them digitally, $60 a pop. And there's no return policy on those. They don't get some of their money back if they return it. So what is my game of the year? I don't have one. I guess that's my answer. I don't think I've played any new games that have actually been released this year. Now, I will, when Baldur's Gate 3 eventually releases the full game, better believe I'm going to play the crap out of the game, and I will do a review of it, a full review of that game, because I love Larian Studios. They make some fantastic RPGs. But yeah, video games. I'm going back to the old school stuff, PS4 and the Xbox One. Something I'm thinking about lately is there's always this drive towards new video games. Why can't we revisit some of the old stuff? There are more video games that have good video games that have come out than I can play. And there's people that they get every new game that comes out and they play it for a little while, they beat it, and then they just move on. I'm like, have you really, or they put hundreds of hours into it and they move on, and it's like, well, you didn't play this? Oh, that's such a great game. You're not a true gamer. It's like, oh, this first little term, gamer, lame. But play the games the way you want to play them. If you want to play old school games, you want to play new games, that's fine. I'm perfectly okay with people playing the new stuff that comes out. The Outer Worlds, I might try to give that a try if I can get on sale sometime. What else? I'm going to watch the Cyberpunk 2077 review from Worth a Buy. That channel is fantastic on YouTube. I highly recommend subscribing to that channel. But I'm watch that review, and then maybe if it goes down in price at some point, basically I bought The Witcher for like $5 or something. All the Witcher games I've gotten like super on price from GOG. So eventually Cyberpunk will be on discount and I might get it at that point. But I don't see the need to get everything right away. If it's good, it's still going to be good in 3 years. I used to collect a lot of retro stuff. I have a lot of old video games and computer games and all kinds of stuff. So I should do more retro. The idea of why I got that stuff was partly so I could do videos about them and stuff, but I haven't done it in a long time. I used to have like an NBA Jam video that I made at one point talking about my love of that, but I can't even find a copy of it. It may be lost, unfortunately. It's actually on this computer, so it's not completely lost, this Mac that I have here, but I don't use that very much. What? I don't buy it, some big jerk. But I'm willing to be corrected. Yeah. Video games. Lame. Let's look this up. Kirk Douglas leg. Be quiet. Be quiet. Add. All right, here we go. What is it up here? Is that what you're saying? I guess so. That's pretty serious. I mean, that's some serious promotion. Oh, sure enough. Crazy, man. I guess I only saw part of that clip. Basic Instinct. What was that? Kirk Douglas isn't in that. I'm pretty sure that should be on YouTube. Proof. Oh, nope. There's his leg. Yep. It seems you are right. Unless he lost it after 1973. Either that or he dropped a load in his pants. LOL. All right. Boom. Somebody lost their leg. I was reading about something. Maybe I'm getting confused. Somebody else lost their leg in some sort of accident or something. Interesting. Well, he does a fantastic job of pretending to be a man with only one leg. Oh, man. I don't know. I don't know about the world anymore. Sports ball letting me down with its wokeness and its University of Arizona-ness being terrible for the entire existence of its sports ball teams. What the? Yeah, I mean, Kirk Douglas is amazing. I like a lot of his films. You ever seen The Game with his son Michael Douglas? It's a weird film. David Fincher directed it, and it is weird. Also has Sean Penn in it, and like a creepy clown and stuff. Really a weird movie. If you haven't seen it. I've only ever seen it on television, though, so I don't know what content rating it is. You know, my favorite one of my favorite movies is Galaxy Quest. You ever seen Galaxy Quest? That's a fantastic love letter to Star Trek and Star Trek fans. It's better than whatever crap they're calling Star Trek nowadays. It's more Star Trek than Star Trek Discovery. Yeah, mind warping, I would say that. Yeah, there's definitely some question what's been going on in the film moments. I think earned by that. It's still weird, and it's not one I would seek out to watch again. But neither am I disappointed that I've seen it. I think I've seen it like twice. But Galaxy Quest is fantastic. There's also a documentary, I think it's still on Amazon Prime, about Galaxy Quest, the making of Galaxy Quest. And I was watching this documentary, and there was somebody being interviewed. And I was like, I've been right where she's being interviewed. That's at a park. I know right where that park is, on Lambert Lane in Oro Valley, Arizona. I've been right there. That's Mount Lemmon right there. I've been right there. I probably stood right where she's being interviewed. That's the last time I played Ultimate Frisbee there. That's one of the last times I played flag football with a bunch of idiots in the park that go all crazy and think they're playing in the NFL and absolutely take you out for no reason. Right there at that park. I played tennis. My dad at that park. I played basketball at that park. So that was interesting to watch that. I've been right there. Random. Star Trek, the motion picture. What do you guys think about Star Trek, the motion picture? You guys seen that? Another channel that I recommend you guys give a look to, not for everybody, but it's called Collative Learning, Collativ Learning. Also, Rob Ager, ROB space AGER. That's the man's name. He has 2 channels, and he talks about some movies on there. He talks about Star Trek, the motion picture, and why he tries to make the case of why it's actually great. And I don't dislike it. I think it's okay. It's okay. It's fun. I don't think my Star Trek needs to be wall-to-wall action to be entertaining to watch. But I don't think it's like some fantastic, deep, amazing film. Yeah, notoriously nicknamed Star Trek the Motionless Picture. Yeah, it's slow moving, and but I don't think it's a bad film. It's just a different type of film than what people wanted, I think. And then you have, basically after that, you have Wrath of Khan, which is it's I think people make the mistake of thinking it was action heavy when it's really not. Not really a ton of physical altercations in that. More mind game type stuff. And then there's probably more fights on screen, I would venture to guess. I don't know this to be a fact. I haven't looked up in Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. And then, of course, my favorite Star Trek film is Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, where they got to go get the whales. That's my favorite one. Loved that one as a kid and still love it as an adult. I think it represents so much of Star Trek to me. It has a science fiction element to it. That's kind of fun and interesting, and then it's got comedy and but not too much comedy where it's trying to be, where it's cringy and stupid. Then after that you have what people consider to be the worst Star Trek movie, which I have over there. Let's grab it. Boom, Star Trek V. Directed, also written, story by William Shatner, directed by William Shatner. So if you didn't know, Star Trek 3 and Star Trek 4 were directed by Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock. I bought this at a Blockbuster that was going out of business. And this one was directed by William Shatner, and it's very fun to watch. It is a fun movie, not very good, definitely some stupid stuff in it, a little bit cringy at times with the quote-unquote humor, but it's still fun to watch. And then Star Trek 6, which was written and directed by the same guy who wrote and directed Star Trek 2, Nicholas Meyer. And that one's okay. It's all right. It's no Wrath of Khan. Then after that, you have Star Trek Generations, which is terrible. And then you have First Contact, which also has its many flaws. That's Star Trek 4. Has the whales in it. A Voyage Home. Then you have Star Trek Insurrection, which I remember when that came out, and I watched that. I like that one. It's like watching a 2-part episode of the show. It's not that bad. And then I remember seeing Nemesis when it came out. I remember renting it from Blockbuster, and it was, I think at the time I tried to justify it, but over the course of time, I've liked it less and less and less to where now it's one of the few Star Trek movies I don't even own. Like I have Generations, even though I think it's terrible. I have First Contact, even though I don't. I have a lot of problems with that and what it does to the Picard character. I have Star Trek V, as you've seen, but I'll never own Nemesis. I don't think I have Insurrection. No, I don't think I do. I need to get that one. Yes, Star Trek. I once was going to do a concept album of songs about making a song for each Star Trek movie that had been made up to that time. I only got to Wrath of Khan. I don't think I'll ever revisit the project unless Lady Vixen is excited about it. She said, indicating maybe it's a possibility. What are your guys' favorite Star Trek movies? Most people say Wrath of Khan. Some people say First Contact, but they are dumb. If you guys didn't watch my videos from earlier today, I did put up a video about an Alex Ross Christmas comic about Superman. You should watch it. All right, it is now late at night. I am tired. We've had a good long show, a lot of engagement. Thank you, Mark Antony, who was here quite a long time. Video James for stopping by. Some Big Jerk. P Money was here earlier. I think Nighthawk Warrior was even here at first. Matthew, who was here. Jeff Potts, of course. Of course, Jeff Potts. We talked about so many different topics. So many different things. I ranted. I raved. I gave compelling arguments which convinced everybody watching of my beliefs and my positions. So, goodbye. So long. Auf Wiedersehen. Adieu.